Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Film is Okie Dokie, where every other week we watch a movie one of us has picked that, for the most part, the other person hasn't seen, and we determine whether or not the film is okie dokie. CJ.
I forgot we were doing that, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck was that? No,
I guess this show only has one committed host.
Shut the fuck up. I'm so committed, dude.
I know you are. That was not to me. That was not meant to question your commitment.
Well, that's good, because I do so much for the show.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You keep Tominio in line?
Yeah, I slap him around.
Wow, that explains why he hates you.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't be the first person that hates me. So, how have you been?
I've been well. I've been busy. I was just in Portland.
How was that?
It was cool. It was really cool. It was nice. I've never been to the Pacific Northwest, and beautiful, just beautiful part of the country. So that was really nice to see. Yeah, I would go back for sure.
All right.
It was very nice.
All right, cool.
Yeah, did some food touring. I visited our friend Brian Nato, did some sightseeing in Portland, and was just an overall pretty dope time.
Yeah, you were there. It was a short visit.
Yeah, Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah, but you were back Sunday.
Yes.
It's crazy. No,
that's my ideal. Personally, that's like as a working adult is my ideal travel schedule. Like leave on a Thursday evening, come back that Sunday.
Now hold on, because you are a working adult.
Yeah.
But you are your own boss.
Yeah.
You do make your own schedule.
Yeah.
One could argue you have more freedom than most.
One could argue.
You would not argue.
I mean, the work's got to get done, and so I hold myself accountable to it as if it were any other normal work schedule.
You do, and you, I will say, that is not. He's not just saying that because it's the podcast. He almost to a frustrating degree has a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, I mean, I held a...
You are your own boss, you are an entrepreneur, you are a content creator, but you have none of the things that people dream about when they think of that thing. Like, you take advantage of none of it.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
You really don't. You like, it is rare, like... So, the people behind the curtain, even though you and I do text, and I don't know why this really is, because we've had each other's phone numbers now for like years at this point, which it feels like you're like a newer person in my life, but I have known you for years. We still communicate almost entirely on Discord.
Yeah.
And so when the workday's over, you're done. Like, yeah, you're done. Like, the Discord messages stop.
Yeah, I do not check Discord. Like, I don't check Discord messages after 5 p.m. on workdays, or like rarely on weekends. It's only like
rarely
if I get it's like if I get a message where like I'm able to just like read the top thing when it comes up on my phone. I'm like, this actually seems really fucking important. I got to check this. Like it's usually only like when there's deadline stuff. So
like. It's to the point where, like, because we are also in, like, some shared Discords together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, small groups. Like the Gazebo, for example. Mm-hmm. And, like, sometimes you'll chime in with a joke, but then that's it. Like, you're done. You'll read sometimes, but you're done. On the weekends, forget about it. After 5, forget about it. Really, after 10 o'clock Eastern, forget about it. You're done.
You're
at
that point, I'm in bed.
Yeah. Yeah, no. You have all of the freedom of being your own boss, and you are Ned Flanders about it.
No, you know what it is using that freedom to give me structure gives me freedom in ways you couldn't even begin to believe.
So I okay, I think you're doing a bit, but I actually think what's funny is I didn't want to work at home, right?
Yeah.
Like, relating this back to my situation, I didn't want to work at home. When I got a work at home job, like, I was talking to you, I was like, this is like the one thing wrong with this job is that I have to work from home because I didn't want to do it. And it's worked out okay. But I really had to, like, define an area of my apartment that's like, this is where I work. That's my work over there. I only go there to work or to check on work. And every other time I leave that area, I'm not working. So I totally get it. Like, you work at your desk. You're not coming back to your desk because that's where you work.
Yeah. Granted, I do like play games at my desk and whatnot at night, and I am on my desk at times at night. But for me, it's like very much like it was when I first went full time with YouTube. I was transitioning from an 8 to 5 office job to making my own schedule. And I just felt like the responsible thing to do was like continue to give myself that structured schedule of like, these are my working hours. Of course, you were talking about being my own boss. I have a lot more flexibility with being able to take time off, or like, if something, say like I need to make an appointment in the middle of the day, be it doctor or dentist or go get a haircut, stuff like that. I have a lot more flexibility with that. But I very much was like, because the line between my personal life and my professional life, like in my house, are so much more blurred, I need to have those hard delineations between them so that like I feel like I maintain a healthy balance, and it keeps me operating on a schedule that allows me to engage with the normal world,
I totally understand you on that. And I totally get you have to make the separation. Like, there needs to be that boundary. Like, people at my job, and I don't know if I've told this to the audience yet. I think I told you. I have 2 cell phones, right?
Yeah.
I have 2 cell phones because I still get calls for my old job because I used my personal cell phone and we didn't have company phones. This job doesn't have company phones. They were like, why don't you use a Google Voice number? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I'm like, no. I turn my phone off at the end of the day and they can leave me a fucking message if it's that damn important.
Exactly.
And send me an email, right? I'm not like so strict about it either. If I hear the phone go off in the other room, I'll go see who it is.
Mm-hmm.
If I hear that I got an email, I'll go check what the email is. And if it's an actual emergency, which they hardly are anymore, but if it's an actual emergency, I'll sit down and write a, hey, I saw this, I'll get to this first thing in the morning email.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you have to have that barrier.
Yeah, exactly. See, you get it.
I do get it. I started off racking on you, but I guess, did you never think to try a alternative work schedule? Like, no. I read a book years ago, and it was about productivity, I think. Yeah, the book, I don't remember the name of the book, but the book was about productivity, and the author really subscribed to this idea of a 4-day work week in which you worked Monday, Tuesday, and then you worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
That's a 5-day work week?
Or it was a 5-day work week, but you had a Wednesday as your Friday. Or you worked Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but you worked 10-hour days. Mm-hmm. And the idea was that, like, the weekend that we have right now was broken. I don't remember the name of the book. At one point, I thought reading books about business would make me better at business, and that is stupid. And realistically, that should be the first thing that they tell you in a book about business is stop buying books about business. Because they're all stupid. Yeah, no, but I thought that was really interesting. You never subscribed to the idea because, like, not to be rude, a lot of the people you do business with keep alternative schedules or live in alternate parts of the world in which are not conducive to your 8 to 5. So you never considered like a 4-day or like a 10-hour day?
No, I don't like the idea of a 10-hour day too much, because knowing me, like, to me, a 10-hour day, 4-day work week would work really well if I were doing work that wasn't my own. You know, if I were working in an office where there's even harder confines to it, I would find that a lot more conducive to me feeling productive for the 10 hours. But working at home, like, it's 2 extra hours a day, you know, I just don't think that would work for me. As for, like, you know, you make a good point of I work with a lot of people who have crazy schedules. You know, a lot of that does work in my favor, because for the most part, like, people are typically free in their evenings. And, you know, I work with a lot of people out of Europe, like of the speedrunners I collaborate with. And the evening for them is like lunchtime for me. So it's just a normal work afternoon.
There you go.
But then with, like, going back a little bit to having some flexibility in my schedule, that allows me to, like, completely change things around should there be absolutely chaos with what I need to, you know. It's like, okay, our schedule, this is going to be whack. Like, for example, this was almost, oh my God, this was so long ago now. The video just came out a few months ago, my Simpsons Hit and Run video. The runner who I was working with is from France, and the only time he was free was in the morning, like late morning his time. So I woke up at like 3 a.m. one day to do a call with him and go over the run. So, you know, I have that flexibility to completely shift things up if I need, but yeah, typically I like to keep it as that standard 9 to 5.
Interesting. Well, that was a bit of a detour from, I think, but it was very interesting, I guess.
Thank you. I do have one follow-up question, though. CJ, how are you doing?
See, now we've had this very, like, grounded conversation about you, and we talked about your productivity and, like, work-life balance, and you sound like a well-balanced human being, an adult, and then
it's all a facade, don't worry.
What I've written down is that I got into a fight at McDonald's.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
So, I'm not banned from the McDonald's.
Okay.
Want everyone to understand.
Not banned from the McDonald's.
Okay, so it doesn't go on the list.
Right, it doesn't go on the list of the dozen places you're banned from.
It's more than that, but okay. So,
wow. Okay, I was trying to not put you on blast, but
all right. So there was this young man. So I go through McDonald's and I'm in the drive-thru, right? And then I'm like, "Hey," I get my order, and then the person's like, "Go to the second window." I'm like, "Okay." Go to the first window. Okay, go to the second window. I don't know what fucking window to go to. I go to the first window. I wait for like 5 minutes. Nobody's there. So then I go to the second window, and then the guy's all mad because I was supposed to go to the first one. I'm like, then why'd they tell me to go to the second window? I said, they told me twice to go to the second window and once to go to the first window. He said, well, someone's supposed to be back there. I'm like, oh, whatever. So I give him my card, and he takes it, and then he looks at me, and he's like, we can't accept this. And I was like, what? What was it, like, decline? I just got paid. I'm like, what was it, decline or something? He goes, no, it doesn't tap. I'm like, yeah, I know it doesn't tap. And then he rolls his fucking eyes at me, and he scoffs at me, and goes, if you know that you have an invalid credit card, then why do you even try to use it?
How old was this person?
Young.
When you say young, do you mean like late teens or
like late
like
teens,
they were
early
a teenager
20s.
Still? Okay.
19,
so
20, 21.
The idea of them just being an ignorant young person, not saying this to like say like how did you not consider this, just like trying to describe the scene. It seems like this is an ignorant young person who didn't know that all credit cards don't have the 3 little like wave lines on it to indicate. Okay.
And so I have a credit union. They don't have tap on their cards. Okay. So it's just like my bank doesn't have tap to pay. And so I'm like, it's a chip, just insert it. And then he goes, if it has a chip, then it has to have tap to pay. That's how that works.
No, it's not, dummy.
I know. And then I'm like, if that's not how it works, that's not how it works. You're holding my debit card and it has a chip and it doesn't have tap to pay.
No, the chip is just for show.
Yeah.
It's your bling.
And then he was like, bruh, you're holding up the line. And then the manager, who's like a woman, like I'd say like my age or maybe a little older, goes, here, have a free orange juice and leave. And I'm like, what? I want my food. And she's like, no, it's just like you're making a problem, and you just have this orange juice and you can leave. I'm like, no, he's saying that I don't have a fucking working credit card. I have a fucking card that works. And then she's like, oh, was it declined? And he goes, no, this old motherfucker doesn't understand we can't accept his card here.
Oh, this old motherfucker. I love that.
So then this manager, just her face completely shifts and inserts my fucking chip card, and it instantly works. Now, pause. My chip is like janky as shit and sometimes doesn't work. And I was so nervous it wasn't going to work right now. And then she tells him he has to insert the cards because he's just been tapping the cards. He doesn't understand that you have to insert them. He thought if you inserted them, that meant you had to put in your PIN. So he's a fucking idiot. So then he goes, y'all motherfuckers is dumb. And then he took my food and he threw it at me. Out the window.
Did he, when you say when he threw it, give me the mental image. Did he like toss, like, did he take it out of the bag? Did he throw the bag at you?
Imagine you're holding a brown paper bag.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
am I holding it? Sorry, am I holding it just by like the top holding it closed, or am I holding it by bottom?
All right, you and the listener, okay? Close your eyes. Mm-hmm. Imagine you're holding a brown paper bag.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that you're holding each of the top corners of the bag with each hand.
Okay.
So one hand is holding each of the top corners, right?
Yes, I am holding them in front of me.
Now, imagine it's a watering can.
Okay, it's got some. I had to think it's got some swing to it.
Yes,
okay,
but the way you hold a watering can is both your hands are in the top of one corner.
Wait. Watering. Okay, hold on a second.
So if you have a watering can, a big watering can.
I got a watering can for a plant.
Yeah, like a big plant.
Okay, I'm holding my watering can right now, like my physical watering can that I keep at my desk.
So you don't hold it with two hands, you hold it with one hand.
Right.
Okay, now if you tip it over, imagine you're tipping the bag over. So he's holding, he took the bag and he's holding one top part with the bag. So he's holding the top with one hand and he's now has his other hand on the bottom.
Okay.
Like you're holding a watering can.
Okay.
And then he threw it out the window into my car.
Okay. So he threw it two-handed, one hand on top, one hand on bottom, kind of just shoved it at you.
No, threw it.
Threw it. Did he? Was it
left
overhead?
His
was
hands?
It like
no, like what
was the motion on this?
Like a granny shot, like underhand, but like
so he
can't
lobbed
do
it
underhand the way he's holding it.
Okay.
So he throws it. It leaves his hands, goes airborne, goes through the window into my car. And then I'm like, no, this motherfucker did not just throw food at me that I paid for. So I park my car and go inside. And the manager's like, you got your food? There's no problem. and I dump out the bag, and the food's like a salad. And I got like a quarter pounder, and like the food's all fucked up. I'm like, you fucking threw my food at me. And then the guy, I did pour the food out on the table. I was like, the food's a salad. And then he goes, I don't even need this job. Dunkin' Donuts pays $18. And then, and probably the only thing I did wrong up until this point, I yelled, Dunkin' Donuts would hire a dipshit who can't process a fucking credit card.
Were there kids in the restaurant?
I don't know.
Restaurant, like McDonald's is a restaurant.
And so then the guy started throwing Pokemon cards at me because that's what they've been putting in the kids' meals. Mm-hmm. He started throwing packs of Pokemon cards at me from under the counter.
You should have been like, joke's on you, fucker, I collect these.
And then the manager is like, will you just fucking quit already for fuck's sake? And then he leaves, and she goes, I'm sorry, it was his first day.
Oh,
and then she's like, he lied and said he worked at 2 other McDonald's, but he didn't. I was like, I'm okay, I'm sorry, whatever. We like kissed and made up, and then she's like,
you kissed her?
No, I figuratively kissed and made up, and then I helped her clean up the food I dumped out, and then they gave me new food, and then they were like, we're sorry for your trouble. Here, have some Krispy Kreme. So they gave me free donuts.
Wow, that's. Like, what is in the water?
I don't know!
What? There's something in the water.
This seems like a normal interaction to me.
I've never even witnessed something like this.
It happened to me.
I've never even witnessed something like this in public.
Well, a bunch of people at McDonald's fucking did. I didn't even do anything wrong.
I would say... by and large, you were not the party at fault here.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I shouldn't have dumped the food out, but I was making a point. And I shouldn't have screamed at the kid, but, I cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. I'm not going to Dunkin' Donuts. Plus, apparently, McDonald's sells Krispy Kremes now, so I don't need to go to Dunkin' Donuts.
Got him.
Also, the Dunkin' Donuts is across the street. So he literally...
Dunkin' Donuts sells Krispy Kreme?
No, McDonald's.
No, I thought you said that
I don't need
McDonald's...
to go to Dunkin' Donuts,
right.
Because McDonald's sells Krispy Kreme.
Right, because otherwise you would get your Krispy Kreme at Dunkin' Donuts, right?
No, because Dunkin' Donuts sells donuts.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Since when?
I know. But funny enough, Dunkin' Donuts is literally across the street from that McDonald's. So
if they sold donuts, why don't they have donuts in their name, huh?
Anyway.
See, I got a point.
I don't know if you got a point.
I got a point.
We actually have... This is a part 1 of something. Not to switch.
Yeah. This is going to be something that is foreshadowing to the post show.
Yeah, we don't actually get a lot of this, but this is unique. So, I still have my wisdom teeth. I have all 4. All 4 are, what do they call them?
Impacted?
No. Erupted?
Okay.
All 4 have erupted. So
okay.
All 4 of them are out of the gums, okay?
Okay.
So, at the time, I've been trying to get my wisdom teeth taken out for a couple years now. But every time I go to an oral surgeon, they either don't take my insurance, or they tell me they won't do my teeth. That the risks are too great, and often what they tell me is, I should have done this 15 years ago. And, I really hate that, because, I can't do anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go back in time and get my wisdom teeth taken out, so that's, fuck off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should I have? Probably. Can I go back and fix that? No. So why would you tell me to do that? Right? I get the spirit of what you're saying, but the fact that so many oral surgeons told me that, it was fuck off. So I have a dentist I really like. That dentist doesn't have an oral surgeon. They have, a oral surgeon that travels around. That guy did my root canal. And my root canal was kind of a situation I don't know if I've told the story on the podcast, but I think I've told you. But my root canal was really, really painful. I I had never been to a dentist before until I was like 27 or something, 28. And so I go, they do a deep cleaning. It activates a nerve that sets off the need for this root canal. And then I had to have an emergency root canal. That oral surgeon did my root canal. And my insurance paid for part of it. And I had to pay for the rest. But it was fine, and I had to have it. I mean, I was gonna like rip my teeth out with a freaking pair of pliers if I didn't get it done. So finally, I'm like, why don't I just go back to that guy? That guy doesn't take any insurance. He only takes cash.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. I specifically picked, because now that my job doesn't offer dental insurance, I got to pick my dental insurance. I specifically picked the one that his website says that he took. He doesn't take any insurance. That was just a lie.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I want to get my wisdom teeth taken out. Will he take them out? He looks at the films. He looks at the x-rays. He goes, yeah, not a problem. And I'm like, time out. For years, people have told me they won't even do it. The ones that were willing to do it were, like, scared. And, like, told me all this stuff and were like, your jaw could get infected, you could bleed to death, and you could have permanent numbness and all this other stuff. And he's like, nah, you're fine. He slapped me on the back. I'm like, okay, hang on. I really need to understand this. I said, it's not that I don't believe you. For years, people have told me, like literally years, people have told me they wouldn't even touch this one tooth. And he kind of is a little annoyed, but he looks me in the eye and says, listen, if I really thought I was going to get in trouble doing your teeth, I wouldn't do your teeth. He shows me my x-ray and goes, see this line? That's your nerve. It's not near your teeth. Not near the roots. Your teeth are fully erupted. So, don't worry about it, okay? And I'm like, okay. He goes, everyone in this office has had me take their family and loved ones' teeth out personally. I said, yeah, you did my root canal. He goes, exactly. Did you have permanent numbness after your root canal? I said, no. He's like, good. Then it's settled. So then I'm like, okay.
Guy's confident.
Like, go to the desk, and they're like, he doesn't take any insurance, and it's going to cost $4,500. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck? So then, I'm like, well, I can't do it, because I don't have $4,500 sitting in a bank account. I'm like, well, you can apply for care credit. So I'm like, all right, well, sure. Okay, we'll try that. I don't know if they're going to give me the whole boat. Then she goes, if you skip IV sedation, you can save $2,500.
It's not a bad deal.
And I said, sign me up. So I'm getting my wisdom teeth removed for the low price of $2,000.
Wow.
And I got my care credit resolved. So I went and paid for it today because apparently you have to pay a week in advance. So a week after we're recording this, or like 6 days after we're recording this, I'm getting my wisdom teeth taken out.
Yes, you'll be free of 4 teethers.
Yes. So, I'm going to tell you what everyone has told me, and then I'm going to get your thoughts.
Okay.
So, everyone has been like, this is going to be the worst pain you've ever felt. A lot of people have said that. A lot of people have told me that I'm not going to be able to talk or do anything for like 3 days. People told me I'm not going to be able to move my jaw for like 3 days.
Okay.
People told me I'm going to bleed like incessantly for like half a week or 2 weeks.
Okay.
And it's going to be miserable. I'm going to be miserable. And the fact that I'm going back to work, anything short of like a week after, I'm crazy. But everyone at the dentist office is like, your teeth are out, we're using Novocaine, you're fine.
Okay.
The last thing I'll say is, I am only using Novocaine. 1, I have a massive fear of needles. 2, I have anxiety, And did you know that having a high anxiety makes you metabolize Novocaine faster?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so I actually hit the limit on what they would give me during my root canal, and I did my root canal basically raw.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, how bad could this be? So I'm expecting it to be bad. I'm expecting it to hurt. I'm expecting to be in pain. But I'm in constant TMJ pain. I'm kind of like...
TMJ?
Like, it's the jaw pain.
Okay.
TMJ is the joint where your mandible meets your maxilla.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like constantly in that kind of discomfort. And my teeth kind of are always like, my jaw's kind of always hurting, and my teeth hurt, and it's hard to clean back there. So I'm like, looking forward to it a little bit. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna hurt. It can't hurt worse than the time I had testicular torsion. So I feel like I'm gonna be okay. Plus, but also, I did have that root canal. That was the worst 2 days of my life. That hurt a lot. So, what are your thoughts?
So I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth out at once when I was 17.
Did you build a time machine and go back in time and do it?
No, I did not.
You were just smart.
Well, it was less I was smart, and it was more my dentist was like, you really got to get these out. Otherwise, they're going to, I think that's impacting is when they like hit your other teeth and fuck everything up. And I had very extensive braces, in all of that. So we did not want to have to undo all the braces work. So I was put under, and I'm going to be honest, it was like, I know that this is the outlier. It was pretty nothing burger for me. Like, I remember waking up after the procedure, and my mom and sister, I think, were both there, and they thought I was going to be super loopy. And I was like pretty normal, pretty grounded. My mouth was very numb. And they gave me like a bunch of Vicodin. I didn't need to take any of it. And I'm going to be honest, I felt like no pain the entire recovery. That might have been because they like really numbed my mouth up, and I didn't have full feeling in part of my mouth for like months. But for the most part, no, it wasn't bad. Like the day after I got them out, I went to a wake for one of my uncles. Like I was out and around like the next day.
Okay.
So I think that there's definitely a possibility of it being not as universally bad as people say. But the things you're saying about how you're going to be awake for it, I do know people who have been awake for it. So I don't think that that's, an indication of it's going to be horrible. It might be uncomfortable because you'll probably feel tugging and whatnot. And you'll feel them working, despite it being numb, like you'll just like feel your head getting jostled around. And that always is interesting and takes me out of it. The stuff that's concerning is the just that it's going to be Novocaine, and that it doesn't really, your anxiety is so high. So
yeah.
I'm hoping for the best for you.
So they also asked me my weight, and this time I gave them the real number so that they can accurately tell me how much Novocaine they can give me. Last time they gave me 4 needles of Novocaine in one area, which was one tooth they were doing. Okay. And it wore off within an hour. So, I'm gonna hope. Like, some people have told me that they're in the chair for hours. Other people have told me they've gotten all 4 done in like 30 minutes. It really seems to be like, your situation may vary.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to like go into it scared. I'm also going to take a fistful of Xanax before I get in that fucking office. Because I'm not worried about the procedure, but I just know I'm afraid of needles. And the second I know that there's a needle about to go in my mouth, I'm going to get fucking panicky.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm like, I'm cool, man. I'm just a couple little Fonzies here. We're cool. Get rid of my fucking teeth. I want to see it before they destroy it. Like, I get that I can't keep my teeth. I want to see them. I wonder what they look like.
Are you going to make sure you request that, you said?
I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to find out.
Well, I can't wait. I cannot wait for us to talk about this in the post game.
So the post show, we're going to have, this is the pregame. In the post show, I'm going to have them removed.
Yes.
So,
wait, hold on. They're going to be removed during us recording?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, live.
Oh, this is exciting.
All right. Tommy, I have one last thing.
Yeah, hit me with it.
So I have been doing some spring cleaning.
Yeah.
And I found my notes for an article that I wrote for my school newspaper in 2012. The article is not relevant, but in the margins of my notes, I noted all of the snacks that were available for purchase in 2012 at the local Regal cinemas.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me if you think these are valid, appropriate movie-going snacks.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So, I'll start you off with an easy one.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
Popcorn? Yes, movie-going snack.
Classic, right?
Classic.
Okay. Boxed candy.
Just boxed candy in general, not a specific one.
I'm not going to go into it. It says boxed candy.
Boxed candy? Yeah. Yes.
I think like Snow Caps, Junior Mints, M&Ms.
Yes, those are all quintessential movie candies.
Those are all
movie snacks.
Yep, okay. Nachos.
Yeah, I'd say a movie snack.
Really? Okay.
I'm
a purist.
I don't think I've ever gotten nachos, maybe once or twice, but I'd say, yeah, those are a movie snack. When I think movie snacks, that would probably be one of the first 5 I would name.
Okay, so you have 5.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Pizza.
Specifically, borderline.
It's like that little tiny microwavable pizza that they brought out.
So, borderline in that I don't think I've ever gotten it. I don't think I ever would, but it's definitely one I've seen a lot. I've definitely seen pizza served at a lot of places.
I have seen it. I just don't think it's an appropriate movie snack.
Okay. Yeah, I would say appropriate snack, but not for me.
Okay. Hot dog.
Hot dog? That's not a movie snack.
Okay. See, they were serving hot dogs at the theater.
That's no movie snack.
I'm with you. Okay, no hot dogs.
No hot dog.
Big pretzel.
Big pretzel movie snack.
You're going with movie snack.
Movie snack, yes, that's a movie snack. That would be one of the 5 I'd say.
Do you put mustard on your pretzel?
No, I'm a you dip it in cheese guy.
I don't like cheese. I'm a plain. But...
I don't like cheese. That's a quote.
Yeah, all right. I'm fine with it. Ice cream.
Ice cream? I'd say probably not a movie snack.
Soft serve ice cream, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably not.
All right, this is another kind of ice cream, Dibs.
Dibs?
Dibs are like little bite-sized crunch candy that have vanilla ice cream inside.
Oh, a Dibs ice. Oh, okay. This is so borderline because it is ice cream, but it also reminds me a lot of a boxed snack. I'd say this is the closest to a toss-up, but if I had to land on one side or another, I would say, yeah, movie snack.
Wow.
Because I think the shell adds a bit of staying power to it, whereas like you can't sit there and snack on soft serve an hour and a half into a movie. I think Dibs you might be able to get away with.
Okay. How about an icy or a slushy?
Yeah, I'd say movie snack. Again, not for me, but I think that's pretty standard.
Man, I am so disagreeing with like all of these. I was beyond mortified at all this shit that they were peddling.
Yeah, icy. They have the classic blue and the red, and sometimes the Coca-Cola one.
Yeah, Coca-Cola
I'd say
one's always out of order.
I'd say that's a classic movie theater drink.
Mm-hmm. about mango smoothie.
Not really a movie snack, no.
All right.
That seems like a very local thing. Like, yeah, no, John up the road, he got extra mangoes in his last grocer shipment, so we're gonna make mango smoothies for a little bit.
There was a smoothie island next to the theater. It was like I don't know.
Was it like a collab type thing? Like,
I don't know.
Mango smoothies by Smoothie Island. By the way,
actually, go ahead.
Is Smoothie Island something I should be censoring? Is that like a local thing?
No, it's gone. It's long gone now.
Okay, people couldn't still backtrack, identify
I don't think that they could. I mean, if they found a video of like the 90s mall,
okay.
Maybe. But no.
Okay.
They had, so, right, there's 2 more items on this list, okay?
Okay, hit me with them.
Okay. Taco.
See, okay, I've never heard of a taco being a movie theater snack.
I'm
never
saying
seen
served by Regal.
I've never seen it. I don't think I would ever get it. The idea of a taco being prepared by a movie theater employee and of movie theater quality sounds so unappealing. But if I'm being honest, something about it kind of strikes a bell where I'm like, shit, taco might be an okay movie theater snack. Now, Here's the thing. I'm guessing, because like whenever you get tacos at a place, like at least not at like, a Mexican restaurant, it's at like I don't know, like a place like a movie theater, it would likely be a hard shell taco, which I think would be too loud of a crunch for in a movie. So I'm gonna say no, not a movie theater snack. That
Taco had no chance in this world. That is the definition of white people taco. It's the neon yellow hard tortilla shell with like the unseasoned beef and like soggy lettuce and like tough tomatoes. Yeah, white people taco night. The last one, caramel corn.
Caramel corn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. There's some movie theaters in Illinois.
You're too fucking lenient.
No, I don't think so. I know of movie theaters that sell caramel corn and make it there.
I'm not asking you if I'm saying is it appropriate?
Yeah. What's wrong with why would caramel corn be not appropriate?
I'm saying none of this stuff is appropriate. You're too lax with the people.
Not at all.
Popcorn, soda, candy. That's it.
No, that's a limited worldview. That's such a limited worldview.
That's my worldview.
I stand by what I said.
Well, fuck off. Tommy, what are we watching today?
Caramel corn's totally a valid movie theater snack. Totally valid. Today, we are watching Tropic Thunder, which, CJ, you've not seen.
I want to give a disclaimer starting right now about Tropic Thunder.
Okay.
We have to use language that some may find unsavory if we are going to talk and quote this movie. So, if that bothers you, you have been warned.
I'm going to say something. There's a lot of stuff in this movie I'm not going to quote.
I'm not going to quote any of it either, but I'm going to tell you that I know exactly 2 things about this movie.
Okay.
And I'm about to say them right now.
All right. Hit me with them.
That's why I hit the disclaimer, okay? So I know 2 things about the movie. One is I'm a dude disguised as a dude, disguised as another dude, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I know that he's in...
Great all-time line. Go ahead.
I know that he's in blackface, okay? The only other thing I know about this movie is when he's talking to Ben Stiller, Robert Downey Jr. is talking to Ben Stiller, and again, I'm only quoting it because it's the only line I know. You never go full R word, right? Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump, didn't go full R word. So I know that rant. That's all I know. I don't know the plot of the movie.
Okay.
I don't even know who's in the movie.
Wow, you just know Ben Stiller and RDJ.
I know Ben Stiller's in it because he gets yelled at by RDJ.
Okay. Can I tell you just a little bit? I won't go too much into detail, just a few things that I think are worth mentioning, and then
Sure.
we'll have you take your headphones off.
Yep.
So this film, and I think it's important to view it with this scope, it is a satire of Hollywood actors.
Okay.
Very much so a satire. It's directed by Ben Stiller. It's not his directorial
Severance!
debut. Yes, exactly. I was going to link it to that. It's not his directorial debut. He had actually directed a fair bit of things before this, but far from where he's at now with Severance. I think it's better if I don't say everyone who's in it, because there are some people in very surprising roles. And yeah, I do think that there's going to be a fair bit of humor that doesn't work in this movie just because of the era it came out in. But I do think that there is a fair bit of humor in this movie that will work strictly because of the fact that it's a satire and satirizing people who would be doing that unironically.
Okay.
I guess I'll talk briefly with my experience with this film. I saw this, I think my dad went and saw it in theaters, and then he took me to see it after. Either that or he saw it in theaters and then we watched it like right when it came to DVD. I remember really enjoying it then. It was a film that my friends and I always referenced growing up. And I haven't watched it in full, I think probably since high school. So it's been a bit. But it is a film that when I think back on, I'm like, I feel like that's probably aged really well in some parts and poorly in others.
Okay.
So I think that's where I'm at with it. I do have my prediction for how you will like it, CJ. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I can't think of anything else to say before my prediction, unless you had questions directly for me before we really get into this.
Honestly, I want to go in as blind as possible.
Okay,
So,
we can do that.
All right. So,
All right.
You want me to take my headphones off?
Yeah, take your headphones off.
Okay. They're off.
All right. I think that this film, like everything I just said, it's going to have aged really well in some parts and really poorly in others. I think that it's probably going to be really insensitive at times. But I think that by and large, CJ will find that it really works as a satire. And I think that it'll work enough for CJ to overcome its downfalls, which I feel are largely predicated in the era it came out in and the type of humor that was very in vogue at that time. I think CJ's going to give it an okie dokie, not a resounding okie dokie, but an okie dokie nonetheless.
I'm back.
Welcome back, CJ. Welcome back. Well, I guess, are you ready to watch Tropic Thunder?
Oh, hell yeah.
All right. Well, ladies, gentlemen, NB, if you would like to watch Tropic Thunder alongside us, there is a link to the commentary track in the description. Otherwise, stick right here. You'll hear some clips from our watch along, and we will see you back here in just a moment with CJ missing 4 teeth. And if you'd like to join us for the commentary track, you can pause this podcast right now.
I might be your biggest fan. Yeah. Tropic Thunder. Kind of like my Catcher in the Rye.
Don't say it's your Catcher in the Rye.
That's the worst comparison in the world.
Right.
The only people that make that comparison are in the 7th grade or have never read the book.
What is it? I don't know.
Get off me, you're pathetic. You're not going to...
He took his fucking hands. Oh my god, what if he has hands? He has hands!
What a great way to reveal that, too. Him raising his hands into frame.
I predicted it.
I mean, yeah, 5 seconds before it happened.
That counts. Why doesn't that count?
Because it's like the immediate telegraph. Now, if you had called it at the beginning, I don't think this guy has hands, then I'd be like, oh, shit.
Tommy, I have some important news for you.
Okay.
Getting your wisdom teeth out fucking blows.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So how did it go? Walk us through it.
Oh my god. All right. Do you think that people would appreciate, how much of the story do you think that people would appreciate?
Yeah, 70%.
Okay. I got there early.
Okay.
Because I always get to my appointments 15 minutes early.
Okay.
If I don't know about you. If you're not early, you're late.
How early, how do I word this? This is a hard question to word. What is the earliness where the line is drawn for if you're not this amount early, then you're late? Is it 15 minutes? If you're 10 minutes early, you're late?
If you're on time, you're late.
If you're on time, you're late. Okay. 1 minute early, you're on time? Okay.
Like, you gotta get there before the time.
Okay.
Like, if me and you make plans to go meet at 12:30, if you show up at 12:30, you're late.
Okay.
Like, if you showed up at 12:30, I would say, oh, I was starting to get nervous.
Okay.
You know? If you hear any slight difference in my voice, I do apologize. There is still some swelling. So, spoiler alert, it has been 8 days since I had my wisdom teeth out. Yeah, that's right. So, I had them out... No, 9 days since I had them out. I had them taken out last Monday. Today is a Tuesday. And I got there early, and they immediately come out and go, hey, we know you have a 10:30. The person in front of you is taking a lot longer than we expected. And I was like, oh, okay. So there is a very worried looking adult there, and she is basically pacing. And I figure out that it's her mother. And the person that's ahead of me is getting her wisdom teeth taken out bright and early. She had the first appointment. I had the second appointment. She had been in since 8:30. They sedated her, IV sedation, and they went over by like an hour and a half. So I didn't even go back until 11, quarter after 11. And
What time is your appointment at again? Okay.
So I was all like, they were way off, right? To the point where like they were like, before I even got the Novocaine, they were like, how many teeth have you pulled out? And they were like, none. So they were way backed up. So then I got nervous about how long mine was going to take, right? I had read anywhere between 20 minutes and an hour. Everybody had either told me it was going to be the worst experience of my life or it was going to be nothing, okay? Everybody's feedback to me was it was the worst experience of their life or it was genuinely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a fear of needles. I communicated that. They were actually really good about it. I want to give a special shout out to them. Most of the time when you tell someone you're afraid of needles, they say, okay, just don't look. But then what they do is, all right, I'm going to give you the shot now. And then they keep touching your arm. Specifically, my fear of needles stems from like looking at the needle, not so much the pain of the needle. So I can get away with getting shots or getting blood drawn or getting poked or pricked if I'm just not looking. But if I know it's coming, the anticipation will get to me eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of people they'll like, all right, we're gonna give you the shot. Then they order a pizza. They rearrange their 401k.
They hang the mirror on the ceiling so you can watch them giving you the shot.
They do a bunch of dumb shit. Like when I got my first COVID shots, like the woman who gave me my first COVID shot took like 20 minutes to give me the shot. She kept touching my arm to not give me the shot. And I eventually looked at her and said, will you just put the fucking needle in my arm? Like, Jesus Christ. She would like dab my arm, like to put the little like brown liquid they put on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Rub it without the alcohol to sanitize the
area.
Yeah,
whatever. It turns your skin brown, whatever. Like to make the area clean. And then it's like they would touch my arm, or they'd like, oh, you got some hair. We gotta get rid of the hair. It's like, just fucking prick me, dude. I've seen movies where people get fucking shots by accident. Why does this take so long? So anyway.
And you know what they say? Movies are always entirely factual.
So the oral surgeon was great. He was like, all right, I'm going to do it right now. Or like 2 seconds, you're going to feel a pinch and some pain, but that's it. And then in 2 seconds, I felt a pinch and some pain, and that was it.
So the dude was following through with his word.
Yeah, he was great. As a reminder, I am immune to nitrous. I have a tolerance to Novocaine, is what it's called.
It's because you huff it too much.
I know. And I declined IV sedation to save money because I had to pay in cash. And so, to some people, this is like borderline insanity. I think it was fine. Now, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of discomfort. There was some weird sounds. 3 of the teeth came out, not a problem. 1 of the teeth, they had to basically turn into sprinkles. That is the
They
one
had to,
that
like,
still
grind
hurts.
it up or something.
Yeah, basically, they tried pulling it, and they said every root was in business for itself. And so, ultimately, what they decided to do was just turn it into confetti. So
They didn't have to. I know that other people that I've spoken to about getting their teeth removed, they've like split their wisdom teeth and like broken them up to take them out. Did they like have to even split any of the other ones, or did all the other ones just come out clean?
the top ones literally came out like instantly.
Okay.
They pulled on them and they came out. Like, it took a minute each for each of the top 2. The bottom left one, they cut it in half, diagonal like a sandwich. Just to get like some grip. But they didn't cut it all the way through. They just did that for leverage, I guess. And so, by the way that I knew this is because after they did this, they said one of my teeth was impacted. And I said, well, you guys told me that none of my teeth were impacted. And they said, yeah, it's impacted against your crown. So they popped my crown out. Right?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay. Well, all right. Like, they're like, so it's not impacted anymore. I'm like, cool, I guess. So then they turned that one into confetti, and it's weird. So I'm very aware of what they're doing, and then the Novocaine wore off, and I don't want them to stop. I just want to be over with it. So I kind of tough it out. But it really hurts, and I know that I'm at the max. They gave me the max, and I did tell them, and they're like, you just gotta kind of muscle through this one. So they finish, and then they're like, all right, we can't help you get your crown back on. Somebody else has to do that. So we're gonna go to our next appointment. You're gonna get your crown put back on. So someone else comes, puts my crown back on. They cement it back in place, whatever. Because it's a permanent crown. I mean, I've had it for a while. And I get up, and because they had to run, they didn't have time to clean anything up. So I get up, and I see all my teeth on the table. And so I see the 2 top ones, and they're just on the table. Totally fine. There's one that's cut in half. And then there's a jar of just tiny pieces of what my tooth was. And I was like, oh God. They really fucking butchered me.
Mm-hmm. Well, they butchered your tooth.
Yeah, well, that was a part of me at one point. And then they pulled every fucking root out. So, good news, no permanent nerve damage.
Nice.
The last of my numbness and my pain in my jaw. So I had lingering numbness in my jaw until today, actually. And it went away this morning. So I have no more numbness in my jaw.
Very nice.
By day 3, there was 0 pain in my mouth at every other extraction site except the complicated one. And then that had the other problem of being like numb and like tingling and swollen, and that one had the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that tooth had gone normally, I'm not exaggerating, I probably could have eaten a steak on day 3.
Okay. Even though, did you get stitches and whatnot?
I did. So by day 3, the stitches on the left side had already dissolved or popped out.
Okay.
On the right side, my mouth is all fucked up. Like, my cheek is basically sewn to my gums right now to cover the hole. It's fucked. So, Fun fact, I'm actually coming to see you soon.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
Whoa, I got planning to do.
You do. We have planning to do. And one of the things I want to do, because obviously you live in Chicago, and Chicago is known for their food, and I love the food of Chicago. I want to eat.
It's a good thing you said that. There were a million angry Chicagoans who just poked their head into my door, and they were like, CJ, better say it.
Yeah. Love Chicago food. I'm really excited to get to do more food stuff while I'm there, including your food. Specifically food that Mr. Tommy makes himself and Jade. And I was so bummed. I'm like, man, I hope I'll be able to eat all of it. And I'm like, as of today, I'm starting to feel like, yeah, I'll be able to eat all of it. So it's feeling pretty good. But because that numbness wore off, I now have some pain. I have some throbbing pain in one of my sockets. Which I think that numbness was kind of protecting in a weird way. The other weird thing is, and I think I said this, I had a hard time finding an oral surgeon. And I don't know if I said that on the podcast or not. I probably did. I had a hard time finding an oral surgeon because they told me there was going to be permanent nerve damage. Mm-hmm. I had full feeling in my face except for about an inch-long section of my jaw by 6 o'clock that night of the day of the surgery. So, you know. Also, last thing I'll say about it, they gave me acetaminophen, which is Tylenol. They gave me like 10 pills. It was acetaminophen. It was like 600 milligrams, which is like one extra strength Tylenol with codeine, 30 milligrams of codeine, right? Which is a painkiller type thing. And those worked if you took them every 4 hours. So I took them every 4 hours. I burned through all my painkillers. I called back and was like, hey, I'm still in pain. Can I have more? And they called me back and said, hey, no. You know what'll work better than painkillers? Taking regular over-the-counter ibuprofen. And I'm glad I can't get banned from the dentist office because...
Well, I think you can. I think you're just not trying hard enough.
I said, if regular ibuprofen was better than what you prescribe me, you're either practicing malpractice or you're completely full of shit. Either you knowingly gave me a drug you knew to be inferior, or you're lying to me so that you don't have to give me more medicine that will be more effective.
What did they say to that?
She said that that taking 2 extra strength Tylenol in conjunction with ibuprofen would be better than taking the medicine that they prescribed at this stage of recovery. So there you go. It was not up for discussion.
So how was your recovery overall? Like, how long, you said that, I could have eaten a steak on day 3.
If it weren't for that one area of my mouth, I could have. So first 3 days, I had ice cream, bananas, and soft white bread. And that was all I could eat. And
you had your overly unripened green bananas that are insanely bitter, of course.
Yes. I love those.
Of course.
Yeah, and then on Thursday, I had a cut-up hot dog. And I could open my mouth just wide enough to chew. And then on Friday, I tried ordering a Burger King cheeseburger with just the burger and the cheese.
No bun?
And the bun.
Oh.
And I was able to just barely open my mouth wide enough for that.
Wow. You were like going hard. For me, when I got my wisdom teeth out, it was like broth and stuff like that for probably like half a week, if not a week.
Listen, I did ice cream and bananas for like 3 or 4 days and was like, nah, fuck this.
Oh, okay. I thought you had said that was just your day 1.
No. 3 or 4
Gotcha.
days of ice
Okay.
cream and bananas and white bread. On
Okay.
Thursday, I try to cut up hot dog where I cut it up into really tiny pieces.
Gotcha. I thought this was like day 1, bananas. Day 2,
No.
hot dog. Day 3, Burger King. I was like,
No,
Jesus Christ.
Friday, I
TJ.
tried a cheeseburger from Burger King.
Okay.
I'm basically back to eating like normal right now, but I'm purposefully avoiding things that are crunchy, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to avoid things that'll go into the tooth holes.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have like an experience growing up. Growing up in middle school, I bit into a hamburger and it broke my tooth from the middle school cafeteria.
Was there like a bone in it?
It was very hard. It was
Okay.
rock solid hard. The school did nothing. My parents were mad, but did nothing about it. So I grew up until a tooth fell out. I had a hole in that tooth, but it was a baby tooth. And then I had that tooth. It was a second molar on my right side. Then the adult version of that tooth, I was eating popcorn. A kernel cracked the tooth. And it basically created the same situation. It turned it into like a bowl. And then that was the tooth that needed a root canal. And so now I have a crown. Right? So I'm used to having holes in teeth that you have to keep food out of.
That's a sentence no one wants to be able to say, though.
No, 100%. So, honestly, this kind of feels familiar. And the pain that's left is mostly not even like the pain from the sockets or the pain from the gums. It's just what's on the cheek where they cut me up with the instruments and where they sewed me shut and everything.
Right.
That's
I actually have something similar where in 2020 I had long story short, I had a cyst growing above one of my canine teeth.
Oh.
And this was something that took a lot of visits to both my dentist and an oral surgeon to actually diagnose. At first they thought it was something they could just fix with a root canal. Ended up I needed to have like an apicowectomy and all of this other shit done. But in short, they numbed up my mouth so much that the one thing that lingers from that surgery is on the roof of my mouth. I have a little like scar bump from where they were like just injecting me with so much numbing stuff. So yeah, all of that like needle stuff like that, it's crazy how that can just like leave a permanent remnant in your mouth.
Yeah. And I'm sure this almost feels like a bunch of canker sores like in one area.
Mm-hmm.
I know these things are going to heal,
Mm-hmm.
and they just take time. It's just like it's the only source of soreness and discomfort in my mouth left at the moment. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, people are like, if you could go back in time, would you pay for the sedation? The answer is no.
Hell no. You saved $2,000.
Exactly. It was an hour of my life. It was a shitty hour, but I would still do it because it has to be done. That first day, you were asking me about my recovery. That first day, I was in bed the whole day. I got up to go to the couch. I was ice packs. I couldn't talk. I was miserable. The second day, I sat up at my desk for about 2 hours. The rest of the day, either the couch or the bed. Third day, I think I got like 4 or 5 hours at my desk. I didn't work. I was just trying to sit upright,
Mm-hmm.
I left the house for the first time Friday. I drove my fucking self home. I was singing along on the radio with gauze in my mouth. Oh, last thing. So, do you have a crown or anything like that in your mouth, like a dental implant?
No. Well, what you're asking? Yeah, I have a pin in 2 of my teeth.
Have you ever had it where they've asked you, can you bite down and tell me how your bite feels?
Yeah.
Okay. So, my mouth is completely numb. It's full of blood. My smock was completely bloody.
Mm-hmm.
The little thing that they put on, the little bib they put on you, it was red, okay? My beard was red. It looked like I just bit somebody's fucking neck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And just spit it out. I look like a thing from The Walking Dead. Okay? I got gauze in my mouth. I can't feel anything. She comes in. She has my crown. She rinses it off. She puts it back in place. She says, "Can you bite down on that?" And I do. She goes, "How does that feel? Does your bite feel right?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." She's like, "Oh, you're numb?" I'm like, "Gar." And she's like, "Oh, the gauze." So she pulls the gauze out. It runs out of me like the fucking hotel in Amityville Horror. Or fucking Shining. I forget which one had the blood hotel. The elevator. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So it's all over me now. And then she says, "How about now?" I'm like, I'm completely numb. She goes, "Oh, it looks right." So then he comes in and he goes, "Good work. Yeah, you can put the cement on." She puts the cement on. Whatever. She's like, "I'm going to clean the blood off it again." And then comes back, puts the gauze back in, puts my tooth back in. "All right, you're free to go." I'm like, "Hank." So the whole time, I'm like, I don't know if my bite's right or not. I can't fucking feel anything. Today, I've come to the realization, I think it's fine. But until today, I couldn't even feel the fucking thing. Well, I guess I can never feel it, but you know what I mean.
Man, what I really like this voice you're doing for you with this numbed up, gauzed up mouth. I think we should have recorded part 2 of this, this post game on the day. Maybe while you were in the chair during the surgery.
I would have done it.
We should have. You should have brought I don't know, maybe we put an earbud in your ear and we'll bring a field recorder with you.
Can I tell you something?
No.
I'm going to tell you. So, I'm actually going to admit this. When I was in college, I went
You went to college?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I went to urgent care because I couldn't hear out of both my ears. And I thought I had gone deaf.
That's not good.
No, I needed my ears irrigated. Because I have really bad waxy ears, and there's a routine that you have to adhere to make sure that you don't get waxy buildup. And then I also didn't realize how bad Q-tips are for your ears at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping your ears clean and stuff like that. But eventually what happens is you eventually stick the Q-tip in one day, and then it just slams it up against your eardrum, and then you can't fucking hear anything, and then you have to go in and they have to irrigate your ear where they blast your ear. Okay? And I went to an urgent care, and I didn't want my parents... I don't know why I was ashamed to let my parents know. I had insurance. And she told me about this clinic that basically they would do your procedure for you if you let med students watch.
Okay.
So, basically, I left the urgent care and then went to this clinic thing where I let people I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll let med students watch." And then I get there and I'm like, what value are they going to get out of watching me lay on my side while they blast my ear with water? Surely only 1 or 2 of them is going to be able to see inside my ear at a time. Yeah, it was to let the med student actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh. Well, how bad could they fuck it up? There's more to irrigating an ear than I thought there was. But to save money and embarrassment, I guess. I don't know what is embarrassing about it, but that's how college kids think. I let some random med school students at this back alley clinic irrigate my ears. And I bring that all around to say, I would have done the same shit for my teeth. If it meant that it was free $99, you fucking bet.
Hell yeah. So I don't live far from a barber academy, I guess is what you would call it. I don't live far from one, and all the haircuts there are super cheap because it's all people learning to cut hair. Would you go to one of those if one of those was near you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Especially back when I used to get my hair cut, I used to go to a training salon that had a bunch of really shitty hairdressers.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically because I'm like, if she fucks it up, I'll just go home and shave my head.
Wow. You were okay with just getting it all cut off, huh?
Oh, have you not seen pictures of me? I used to be bald.
Bald?
You never seen pictures of me without hair?
I've definitely seen you with like short hair, maybe like even a buzz.
I've got down to like a 1 or like a 0.
Wow.
This is like a picture. I'll send you a picture. This is me with like very, very short hair. This is like a 1 all the way around.
Wow. See the shortest I ever went when I was growing up was like a 3, maybe a 4. A
See, I
1
used to
is
do
crazy.
a 3 to a 4. That
Wow.
was my normal haircut.
Well, the people at this barber school
Is that where
could
you go?
definitely do that for you. Oh no, I don't go to the barber school.
Yeah. Don't blame you.
No. My hair's too special for them.
Your hair is very special.
Thank you. You know who else has special hair though?
Who?
I think Adam Scott has some pretty special hair.
Ooh. All right. Severance.
Yes. So we are recording this post game on March 25th. The season 2 finale of Severance just aired this past Friday. CJ spent some time last week while recovering from the wisdom teeth binging season 2 of Severance. Jade and I have been keeping up with the season as it's been releasing. We also did a week-to-week rewatch of season 1 leading into Severance season 2. We're Severance mega fans. CJ, let's talk a little bit about Severance season 2. Real quick though, check the description for spoiler timestamps. Since we're talking about season 2, we're just going to say all of this is going to be Severance spoilers.
Okay, so all this is covered by the Severance spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay. Season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I want to point out, I actually finished before you.
Yes. Congratulations. Would you like me to send your medal to you overnight or 2-day shipping?
No, I'll pick it up. I'm coming.
Okay.
No, so what's funny is I actually had never finished the first episode. And I had like 5 minutes left of the first episode. And then I started watching it and then just finished it in like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Which is my usual preferred method.
Right. You don't like watching shows until it's all out.
Well, that's not always true, because I watched Invincible week to week.
Mm-hmm.
There are some shows I watch I'm watching Daredevil week to week.
Mm-hmm.
But something like Severance, I can't deal with the mystery of it week to week. It just annoys me. It feels annoying, and then I don't want to watch it. Listen, there are people in this world that don't understand what aggravates them, and they go through life taking it out on other people. I know what aggravates me, and I avoid it. Does that make me a worse person?
And then you just take it out on me.
Not watching Severance is not, in fact, taking it out on you. But,
No. You take it out on me in other ways.
Hey, no. Okay, listen. So, season 1, I think the show, really good premise, really interesting idea, has to spend some time kind of creating the rules, and when you do that, you get a lot of really interesting scenes. Like, you get the really cool scenes of like Helly trying to leave, you know, and from her and like the audience's perspective, where we see her talking to Milchick. This is season 1. Her talking to Milchick on the other side of the door, and then that's Helena. And then Helly goes back in, and she doesn't understand, because from Helly's perspective, she goes through the door, but then instantly comes back. And Mark S. knows that's what's going to happen. And he's standing at the end of the hallway, kind of like knowing that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, he goes around the corner because he's not supposed to watch this.
Yes. So, lots of cool scenes like that, where there's like, hey, we have to build this world. We have to establish the rules. Okay, now we've established the rules. We have to show them working, right? Because this is a job. Okay, season 1 is they have a job. Season 2 is we have to deal with the consequences of season 1. And after season 1, I didn't understand why at all they would bring those 4 people back to work with each other. It made zero fucking sense. It didn't make any sense that those 4 people should work together. And then the first episode is an all-any episode, which I thought was a great idea, by the way.
It's a great way to start the season.
Yep. And then I'm like, oh, okay. I like this.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
From the any perspective, I liked that episode. And then you get the outie perspective, and it's like, oh, they had no intention, but for whatever reason, they need Mark S. to finish his work.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mark S. is required, which means everybody else has to be there as well. That's fine. Everyone else is there as well. They get the band back together. And then the season, I felt, took a turn in the direction of, we have to now expand this story beyond the confines of what we can tell in season 2. And I just want to say this, and I expect this is a point you and I may disagree on. I don't think that makes it a bad story. That's not the point I think we'll disagree on. But I think it makes it a weaker story, because season 1 has the benefit of being a contained story. It does end on some cliffhanger, right? But everything that's in season 1 exists to expand the world of season 1. So there are things that are seemingly resolved, or you have closure on, and things that you don't have closure on, but there's also a lot of mystery surrounding everything. So now season 2 has to expand the story enough to create more story to tell, right? Because the way season 1 ends is Mark S. says she's alive. His innie in the outer world says that Mark Scout's wife is alive.
Right.
And that she's Miss Casey. So the plot of season 2 is, what's going to happen to Miss Casey? I thought that the episodes containing Miss Casey were really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that...
Episode 7, the one focusing on her, incredible.
So
incredible.
I was so worried because so many people were hyping that episode up. I was worried, okay, I'm going to get to it and it's just going to be an all right episode. I got to say, it was a really great episode.
Incredible episode of TV.
The internet did not overhype it. The internet did overhype it, but it was worthy of the hype that it received. The internet does love bomb a little too much sometimes, but it was a really, really good episode. It was probably my favorite episode of season 2. It's probably my favorite episode of Severance, period. So, that says a lot. And so now we know this season has to resolve in one of 2 ways, because they put all their chips on this. There's no way that the season could end with his wife, Gemma, not being rescued or killed. There's no way.
Yeah, you have to upturn the status quo there with her, since she's such the focus.
Yeah, you open this kettle of fish, you have to now close this, right?
Kettle of fish? Kettle of fish? You put fish in a kettle?
That's the expression, kettle fish.
Never heard of this.
Can of worms. You open this can of worms.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, there you go. You open this. That actually
you slurp worms? No. Oh yeah, don't do the vacuum in your mouth.
Yeah. You open this. Now you have to close it. You've opened the box. So once her episode kind of comes around, and we see her putting on the different clothes and going to the different rooms, and it's like, okay, the files correspond to the rooms that she goes to. Okay, it feels like they really... This is the other reason that I'm saying that they are opening the story up to tell a bigger story, which is something I don't like in the moment, but we'll appreciate later. the whole plot line of him being reintegrated basically dropped instantly.
Yeah, that definitely feels like something that was kind of dropped partway through the season as their focus, as I say the character's focus shifts. You know, it's like he's on this path to reintegration. Cobell is on a path of her own, and then there's an intersection, and then they like join up and go that other direction. I feel like reintegration, you know, that's one of those things that's like I need to see how it's going to play out as a whole. I could see it coming back into the fold and them wrapping up that storyline eventually, but very much was a focus the first 2/3 of the season and then not at all in the final third.
So then we get to the finale, which I thought was a really strong finale.
Great finale.
And it ends with, again, spoiler, it ends with Gemma escaping, Mr. Drummond dying, who, by the way, had an amazing voice. That actor has a terrific voice.
He is actually, I think, from Iceland.
Yeah.
And his voice just pairs really well with his natural accent if you listen to interviews of him talking.
Yep, fantastic. Milchek is trapped by Helly and
You got this. You got this. You got this.
all
Come
I
on.
remember is his last name is George.
How do you remember his last name? That it said once in the entire
I
show.
know.
Come on, you got this. He's played by Zach Cherry.
I know.
Come on, you got this.
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh. It starts with the letter D.
Does it really?
Yep, starts with the letter D.
That didn't help me.
You got this. Second letter Y.
Dylan.
There you
G.
go. There you go.
I was like, Daniel?
Daniel.
Yeah. So Daniel G, right? And their whole thing is like Dylan G's actually has an interesting story this season, which is weird.
It's weird that one of the characters has a cool story.
No, his story was weird, but it was really cool. The stuff with John Turturro was interesting. As he sort of like, how do you follow this character after he leaves the show, kind of thing? How do you follow the character after he leaves the pod?
Mm-hmm.
But then the finale also opens the door for how can these characters exist after their existence? Because what kind of life does an innie have after they've committed a murder? Right? Because he killed him. He killed a man. So it's like, okay, well, he lets Gemma escape, and then he tells her to run, and then he goes and he kisses Helly. Because his innie is, Mark's innie is in love with Helly, not Gemma.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows, and they have an argument, which is also fantastic. That whole sequence was amazing. That saving Gemma, that Mark Scout will never go back once he saves his wife. And which will kill the innie. So he has no reason to save him. He has no reason to save her. He saves her anyway because he's a good guy. But then he's like, I saved your wife. Now I'm going to get what I want, which is I want to be with Helly.
Right?
So I say all that to say...
More than I want to be with Helly, I don't want my existence to just disappear.
Yeah.
Because if he walks out that door, Mark is done for. He's never... Yeah. Mark's never going back.
Correct. And so my last thought here is, and before I turn it over to you, this season had to resolve one of its biggest plot points while also ending on a cliffhanger. If this show has one more season, it's perfect. I don't know how much more milk you can get from this cow. Because the premise is that they're employees. And like at some point, you would just be let go. And new employees hired. And new employees trained. Like, unless they are the anime chosen one, or there is some stated preference, like they gave a reason why it had to be Mark here, I guess. Like, there's enough here, I think, to support one more season. if they do another thing like this, where they constantly just open more doors and leave things half kind of cocked and, I don't know, leave things like half baked, I don't know what'll happen. I don't know how much more interesting this premise can be on its face. But I think one more season to the show and it would be perfect. I think it would be like one of the most perfect 3 seasons of television ever written.
I mean, I agree with that statement. I do feel as though one more season is a good spot for the show, but you know, it depends on how it goes. Like, as long as the seasons are good, like I personally am not a fan of being like, this show can't go for another X number of seasons. It's like, to me, it's like, well, whatever's in the creator's head. If they can make this an entertaining show for 5 seasons, then yeah, great. Give me 5 seasons.
Sure.
I'm not gonna. I agree that like as of right now, with how things are, you know, the
way
status
that the
quo
story
has been
presented,
flipped.
I don't see how you get 3 more seasons after you kill somebody.
Right, the status quo is so upheaved right now.
You
And
can't
there
have
are
them go back
such
to work.
big repercussions. Right. Well, I mean, their work is, I mean, here's what I like. I feel like going into season 3, we are headed in a direction where the innies are just going to dig in and refuse to leave the severed floor. Because if they do, they're never going back. So I feel like it's going to be like they're almost on strike inside of there. They have Milchick as like a prisoner practically. You know, merriment and choreography have all flipped and are like on hashtag Team Innie.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're headed down this direction of the innies holding the outies hostage in that way. The outies don't have an out. They don't go outside. So the outies don't exist. I feel like that's a really interesting thing. And like, you know, with Gemma making it outside of the severed barrier and being outside, you know, assuming she escapes, which I'm guessing she does, you're not going to free that character only to recapture her immediately. That's just needlessly cruel from a narrative standpoint. You know, all of this stuff is probably going to be public and big news. And I feel like it's just going to turn into this large scale hostage negotiation in a way. So I'm really curious to see where it heads with that way. I definitely think that is enough of a world shift in terms of the repercussions that is going to send out through the world of the show. Like, how do you top that? It does feel like a very, you know, it's like, it reminds me a bit of this show Money Heist. Are you familiar?
Never heard of it.
It was a Netflix show, I believe is a Spanish show. And the original title is La Casa de Papel. And it's about this bank heist crew robbing like this crazy bank in Spain. It might have even been like a Federal Reserve, essentially. And the first 2 seasons, great. And then it's like, you know, season 2 has all this crazy stuff. And then season 3, they're starting up another heist. And it's like, why are we doing this? Why? Like, we already had this giant world altering moment. You can't recapture that. So it definitely does feel like we've kind of breached that threshold. I agree with you with that. Again, though, we don't know what's going to happen in season 3. So I'm going to withhold from saying like we can only have one more season. I do think great season of television. Loved this season of Severance. It just continues to me to like keep hammering home. It is one of the best TV shows ever. I think that it was an incredible ending, you know, on so many levels. The season 2 opens with Mark running through these hallways looking for Gemma, right? Looking for Miss Casey. He is looking for this person that is significant in his Audi's life. He's looking for this person who he feels beholden to because of their relevance to his Audi. And over the course of the season, Mark's journey is, you know, establishing and finding this life he can live on the severed floor and with his other severed workers. And to have then the season end just the complete opposite end of the scale. Rather than him running through the halls looking for Gemma after he saves her, he then goes running through the halls with someone who is significant to his own life. He no longer feels that obligation to him on the outside. I thought just an amazing parallel from start to end for the season, and the whole journey with him getting there was just really great. And a lot of, we have a lot of answers to questions we had from season 1. What are the numbers? We got answers to the origin of Severance. We learned a lot about different characters such as Helena and Cobell, a little bit about Milchick, not too much. And I feel like we got so many answers we were desperately craving for, but also, there's still stuff out there that's we don't know wholly. So some stuff we can only really infer. So I just feel like it did a great job of delivering while also presenting more and leaving us wanting more.
Yeah, like, my question is, okay, so that's what Mark's doing. Is everybody else there a beard for Mark? Or, like Dylan G and Helly, they also do the same job? Or do they have their own Ms. Casey's down there?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things that's like, I wish we had a little more info, but not in a way that I feel like it's a negative to the show. I think it's just an added mystery. Or were they all working on Gemma's numbers? And for some reason, the Cold Harbor one was especially important that Mark do it because of his personal relation to that experience. It clearly had something to do with the memory of them losing the child that they were going to have due to, all the stuff in the room with the deassembling the crib. So like, is his significance super important for that? And otherwise they can all work on the files relating to her. Cause some of the other files had to do with her dislike of writing thank you notes or flying or the dentist, stuff like that. Definitely want to know more about that. But that is something that's like minor enough to where like, I feel like we can just kind of infer if we don't end up getting an answer, there's like there's the mysteries that are important that we have to know the answers to. And then there's other mysteries to me that I'm like, yeah, it's a question mark, but it ultimately doesn't feel like that's of import with everything really going on.
Yeah, listen.
The goats, totally those seem important. The goats, I want to know what's up with the goats. But like the little things like that, like I feel like it's okay if we don't. It's just not what the show's about. Bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, I don't know. To go back to what you were saying, like the way that the information has been presented, the way that the narrative has been presented to me, I don't know how we can go from here back to a scenario where everybody's at their desk.
Yeah,
right?
I think those days are beyond. Like, we are having an upheaval on the Severed floor. I think we're beyond the days of them doing the work.
Yeah, so, and so in that spirit, if they can find a way to keep me engaged for 5 seasons, I'm into it. At the same time, I don't know. Like, it just feels like it won't go that way. So, I'm open to being wrong. I'm often wrong.
We'll see.
All right. You want to call that? You want to call that a
let me think. If there's any other Severance spoilers I want to say before end of season, or end of the spoiler talk, I'm super excited to see. I feel like Milchick is due to flip eventually. I feel like they were definitely planting the seeds for him flipping this season. I could see that happening next season. Sympathizing with the innies. Similarly, like, I feel like the seeds for Cobell flipping were planted in season 1, and that happened near the end of this season. I loved all the stuff with Milchick this season. I love the additional screen time he got. Tremel Tillman absolutely kills it in that role. Kills it. I thought all the stuff with Milchick and like the recanonization of Keir portraits where they made him black. That was something that, like, while the scene was playing out, I said to Jade, I'm like, they're going to give him, like, the portraits are going to be black Keir, aren't they? And then it happened. And we're just like, oh my God. Like, his conversations with Natalie and so much going on there with him. And he does such a good job of this portraying this conflicted middle manager who is having doubts and is such a company man though. Oh, so good. Such a good character.
Yeah, I agree. He was really good.
I can't think of anything else I wanted to talk about though relating to that.
All right.
How about let's call the Severance spoilers there then.
There we go. You can now resume.
Welcome back to our Severance spoilers, skippers. You wouldn't believe all of this stuff we talked about. You would not even believe how many times CJ brought up the type of underwear I wear. I don't even know how he knows. He just kept bringing them up.
You know, a blind squirrel and a broken clock, buddy.
Always finds the nuts, and I've got 2 of them. So CJ, recently in our Okie Dokie Discord server, join it, by the way. You should join it and come pop in and say hello. You talked a little bit recently about an idea you had, and I think you wanted to talk about it here.
I sure did. I had an idea. It's based on this event called Butt-Numbathon. Have you ever heard of Butt-Numbathon?
No, not outside of what you've told me.
So Butt-Numbathon was a film marathon in Austin, Texas that was held every December from like 99 until 2015 or 16. And basically, I don't know if you know, but it was for Harry Knowles at Ain't It Cool News, and it was for his birthday. He basically got accused of sexual assault, and he used to have the event at the Alamo Draft House, and so the event got dismissed out of those allegations, and obviously we believe victims in this household. But despite him being a sexual
alleged piece of shit,
an alleged piece of shit, yep. I loved the idea. So the idea was, you would be invited, okay, or you'd apply, and you'd come in, and he'd rent out a movie theater, and you would be there for 24 hours, okay? So you'd watch all the movies in the theater on that day, okay? So I want you to pick a year from 99 to 2016.
2012.
2012, okay. Might have picked a good one. Okay. So, in 2012, they saw, live from the Alamo Draft House, South Lamar in Austin, Texas, they saw Teen Wolf, except for the final credit scene because the film melted twice. Star Trek Into Darkness theatrical trailer preview. The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey in 48 FPS Real D 3D with an in-person intro by director, writer, producer Peter Jackson, writer, producer Fran Walsh, and writer, co-producer Philippa Boyens, and followed by Q&A with Peter Jackson. A trailer for G.I. Joe Retaliation with a video intro by Dwayne Johnson.
They just showed a trailer for it?
Yeah, it hadn't come out yet.
Okay.
Broadway Melody of 1940, which is a 1940 MGM film musical starring Fred Astaire. The Gang's All Here. All Hands on Deck. Oh no, hang on. I lost my place. Reopen, close tab.
Oh, I found the list. Should
Kingdom in the Clouds, Munchies, Mama, followed by Q&A with Guillermo del Toro. World War Z rough cut opening footage with video intro by Brad Pitt. Yeah, so they showed a lot. They showed Libeled Lady, which is a 1936 screwball comedy. They showed Fateful Findings, which is a 2012.
That's like another Room. That's the Room type movie.
Yeah. Nightmare Alley was a 1947 film noir movie. White Heat was a 49 Agni film. Rollerball and Bullet to the Head. So
That's one of my favorite Cine 2 Nerdle plays is Bullet to the Head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So all those movies, you had to sit in the theater and watch all those movies. Now, the Alamo serves food and alcohol and stuff, but you're there for 24 hours, right? So I thought it would be so cool to one day rent out a theater and do an Okie Dokie-thon, where we showed movies. And then I was like, well, why do we have to rent out a theater? We could just do this on our own. And so I wanted to pitch to you the idea, because we haven't talked about it at all, have we?
No.
I didn't even run the idea by you.
You did not.
So I wanted to talk to you about it and see what you thought. I thought it was a really fun idea. My idea was for 12 hours, and it would be a stream, not streamed publicly, because you get into rights issues, obviously, which we would run afoul of, but just making a small private event that we could all hang out and watch these movies together. So how do you feel?
I think this is a fun community idea that I would leave entirely into your hands for planning.
I would plan it. I've already come up with a schedule.
Perfect. I would also need probably a couple months notice as to when this will be so I can make sure my calendar's clear.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no, I think this would be a fun event, especially if we could get a good handful of people to come and join for the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it'd be really fun. This will not be the version that I end up going with. But do you want to hear the sample schedule that I came up with?
Yes. Now, is this something that I should edit out? Is this something that should be confidential and only? Okay.
No, because we won't end up using this.
Okay.
But this is a sample of what a Okie Dokie-a-thon could be.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Every movie has a 15-minute intermission between it. And this ends up being almost exactly 12 hours. Starting off the day at 12 noon Eastern is none other than Beethoven's Second, starring Charles Grodin.
Okay.
We all love Charles Grodin.
Of course, alum of the pod.
Yeah, big alum of the pod. And then, I don't know if you know this, but Charles Grodin, actually, I don't know if you know this, but one of the women in that film, the main bad character in that film, she is in another movie.
You're trying to tell me that the main bad of Beethoven Second wasn't in only Beethoven Second, and that she was in other movies too?
She played she played the friend of a mistress in Goodfellas. So I Cine 2 Nerdled these movies together. So after a brief intermission, we would go from Beethoven Second, the sequel to Beethoven, to Goodfellas.
Okay, quite the pairing.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, actually, but
wait, are you gonna tell me someone from Goodfellas was in another movie?
It's actually our two-part series. It's actually part one of our two-part series on Sam Jackson films. Because following that, we will be watching Do the Right Thing.
All right.
Have you ever seen Do the Right Thing?
I've not seen it, but I'm familiar.
Spike Lee film.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Spike Lee fan.
Early Spike Lee's pretty good.
See, and that's the neighborhood of Spike Lee that I've not too much of. I'm more familiar with Spike Lee in the realm of directing the My Player career in NBA 2K15 or maybe 2K16.
Okay, all right. Well,
which was abysmal.
That would do it. And then actually, so I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if you know. But the I always get John Savage and William Hurt mixed up. So this is our two-part. This is part one in our two-part series of actors that I think are William Hurt. Because following that, we'll be watching The Marine, starring John Cena.
That movie, low key, pretty good.
I think it's actually.
I think that's a pretty fun movie.
I watched that movie on a plane.
I watched it, I think, shortly after it came out, and I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, it was also came out in 2007, so let's temper expectations. But
that's right. Nothing good ever came out in 2007.
I'm
Hold
just
on,
saying
wait.
That was
Hold on.
18
This
years
is
ago.
The Marine came out in 2006.
Even more case, it came out 19 years ago. And then I don't know if you know that, but crime fighting is not exclusively for adults. And so in the spirit of crime fighting, in our two-part series of Anyone Can Do It, we're going to watch Spy Kids.
A classic.
Yeah, a movie I've never seen. And then, to end the day...
You know, I'm going to step in real quick. Spy Kids, low-key, might be a hard watch for you.
Oh, I have no doubt. And then to end the day, the last film of the day, our two-part series on films featuring Antonio Banderas, Desperado. So there you go. That was
nice.
The mock
So that's
schedule.
our first draft.
Yeah, that was our first draft. I thought it was pretty good.
Well, I haven't watched it all yet.
I thought the schedule on its face was pretty.
You drew a portrait of the schedule?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and today on today's episode of Okie Dokie, we watched Tropic Thunder.
Yeah! CJ. I don't know why I said it like that.
Yeah!
CJ. Yeah! CJ, hit me with some Tropic Thunder thoughts.
So I actually had a really hard time with this movie. Tommy.
Yeah.
I really think that you thought I would like it. And
I did think you would like it.
A long time ago, I was doing a podcast, and I made a joke, and the person at the time laughed at the joke. Then, they asked me to not put that podcast out, and they told me that the reason was because of a comment that I made. I asked them what comment I made, and they told me the joke. And I said, well, you laughed at the joke. And I went back and I confirmed that they laughed at the joke. And they said, yeah, I did laugh at the joke, but I laughed at the joke kind of out of shock that the joke was happening, not because I thought the joke was funny. And I was like, I've carried that with me as like, okay. So I kept that in mind. And so I'm sitting there and I was watching the movie and I was laughing at points, but I was also just shocked at what I was watching. I'm like, this movie got made. And I was like, what am I missing? Tommy, what was I missing?
I mean, I guess I would need to hear more about all I hear is I was shock laughing. And I'm just like, what am I missing? I'm just like, I don't know. I need a little more context.
So I didn't know if I was shocked or if I thought it was funny.
Okay.
So I took a page out of your book, Tommy.
Okay.
I watched it again.
What? You pulled the Tommy Ruski on me?
I pulled the Tommy Ruski. I
Whoa.
watched this movie a second time.
I never thought I'd see the day that Tommy Ruski would be pulled on me, Tommy.
Yeah. And
wow.
so I do have definitive feelings on this.
Okay.
I do not like this movie.
Okay.
I do not think it's that funny.
All right.
And we can get into it a little more. But yeah, that was sort of my I was like, I have to be sure. Or else I'm going to give this a potentially I could give this a fraudulent thumbs up or thumbs down.
Right.
So,
and we here at the Film is Okie Dokie, the last thing we want to be called are fraudsters.
I got to tell you, in the interest of maintaining the integrity of our art, I watched this fucking movie a second time to make sure I understood how I felt.
Wow.
So how do you feel about the movie?
I think it's a really fun and funny satire. I think that it's the first 2/3 I think are really great. I think that the last third kind of overstays its welcome. Not kind of. I think the last third does overstay its welcome and really kind of drags its heels. You know, this is a movie that the theatrical cut is like an hour 45, an hour 46. And I do feel like it could probably be closer to like an hour 35 or so. I feel like the last set piece just goes on for far too long and kind of has you checking your watch, which I think, you know, detracts from the rest of the movie then. There's definitely some humor in it that hasn't aged great, but I think just because of the nature with it as a satire, a lot of the humor in it that wouldn't age great normally really works still because of how the butt of the joke isn't, for the most part, like I said, there's some instances where it really has not aged well. The butt of the joke for the most part is the characters and the actors themselves. It's not what they're saying. It's like, these people are absolutely ridiculous for being the way they are. I think it does a really good job of lampooning a lot of, like, you know, self-absorbed, self-aggrandizing actors. And I just think it really succeeds in what it's going for the most part. Again, I think the end is pretty drawn out. And I think it has a lot of really fun performances in it. Not to say everyone in it is a very fun performance, but a lot of really fun performances. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. I think this may be the furthest apart we've ever been.
I don't know. You tried arguing with me for a bit that Renaissance Man's pretty good.
I feel like I was closer to the middle.
You were. You did ultimately say no for Renaissance Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how about, you know, why don't we walk through the movie? I'll recap it and we can chat about whatever comes up.
Yeah, because this is going to be how I dissect how I don't think this movie is that funny.
Okay. So the movie opens with a bunch of trailers for fictional movies. It's like the first 4 minutes or so are different trailers that kind of just establish who our main players are. There is a energy drink commercial starring Al Pacino, Alpa Space Chino, played by Brandon T. Jackson. He's a rapper trying to get into acting. We find out later on that he is gay. He is closeted. The next person who's established is Ben Stiller. He is like his name is Tug Speedman. He's like a big action hero. Kind of think like Tom Cruise, which is ironic since Tom Cruise is in this movie. Like Tom Cruise, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, just schlocky action star. There's a trailer for one of his movies. We got Jack Black as Jeff Portnoy, and he's like big time drug addict. He is famous for movies that like essentially are parodying Eddie Murphy's movies where he plays like 5-6 different characters. I do think that Jack Black's character is the weakest out of all of the main cast in terms of just being kind of obnoxious. But we have a trailer for one of his movies. We have a trailer for a movie starring Robert Downey Jr. as Kirk Lazarus, who is an Australian method actor. He's starring in Devil's Alley with Tobey Maguire. And Kirk Lazarus's whole deal for this movie is he's like hardcore method acting. I believe that he's like specifically modeled after like Daniel Day-Lewis and who else? I think Colin Farrell and Russell Crowe have all been credited as inspirations for this character. And his whole deal, we'll get into his deal in a minute, but we get a trailer establishing him as this like pretentious actor who's very into his craft. I think that's actually the last of the trailers. And then we kind of go into the actual movie where they essentially set up that back in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, there was this crazy operation and a book was written about it. And this is the book that's being adapted in this movie because we open with them. A big Vietnam battle sequence where, like, you know, it's just super over the top. Ben Stiller getting shot with 1 billion bullets and still running. Jay Baruchel has like intestines hanging out of him. And it's just like really absurd. And it's this battle scene is them filming this sequence for this movie because this is a movie within a movie. All of these guys are these actors filming this Vietnam movie. And essentially, like, you know, sets up how there's like kind of friction between some of the cast. Ben Stiller can't deal with how Robert Downey Jr. is like really stepping on his toes, and Jack Black is like kind of just like fucking shit up, and Danny McBride is there as a pyrotechnician who's just like, he's Danny McBride. We have the director of this fictional film, played by Steve Coogan, is Damian Cockburn. And essentially, like, this movie shoot's not going great. They are blowing their budget. They accidentally blew like a multi-million-dollar flyby type thing that didn't get filmed, and everything's going wrong. And then we get a bit more context for as for what's going on. We like learn more about Jack Black's, Jeff Portnoy's whole drug addiction. We learn about Robert Downey Jr.'s character, and this is like, I think, the big talking point for this movie, at least in the cultural zeitgeist. His character in the movie, in like Robert Downey Jr. by extension, is in blackface. His character, Kirk Lazarus, went through a pigmentation alteration, and it's so that he can be black for this role. And it's, you know, on its surface, not a good look, but it is ultimately, you know, lampooning blackface itself, and like the characters point out how it's not right throughout the course of the film. But like we established that he went through this this controversial procedure, and he like doesn't drop his roles until he does DVD commentary. I think that's a line that comes up later. And essentially, like, you know, we see a Maria Menounos segment where like we learn like Tug Speedman, Ben Stiller's, like, he himself is like off a string of flops. His agent is Matthew McConaughey. They're trying to, you know, just trying to get through all of this and all the negotiations that go along with it. And we then have a scene where we kind of see the studio side of things, the director and like Danny McBride and all of the people in production talk to the executive producer on the film via Skype, who is played by Tom Cruise, wearing a ton of prosthetics. He is playing a guy named Les Grossman, who he has a real serious temper. He has Tom Cruise wears a lot of prosthetics in this. Like, it looks like Tom Cruise, but at the same time, it's like not very recognizably Tom Cruise. He's bald. He has these really big like prosthetic hands on him. And he's just like this dude who's quintessential, like, chew everyone out. I'm pretty sure loosely based on Harvey Weinstein, in addition to some other famous producers. Just like not a good dude. So things are not going well. Les Grossman, Tom Cruise, rings out the production, and the director, Damien Cockburn, he speaks with the guy who wrote the book this is based on, who went through all of this in Vietnam, speaks to him because the guy's on set as a consultant. And that guy's like, you know what you got to do to whip these guys into shape and get these actors to take this seriously? You got to just drop them out in the middle of the jungle. Let them deal with the real shit. And Damien Cockburn's like, oh, this is great. We're going to set up hidden cameras everywhere. We'll do this for real. And they get dropped off in the middle of this like reed field or whatever, this palm field. And he's like giving them this speech like, we're going to do this. And it's like, yeah, yeah. And then he takes like one step and steps on an actual landmine and gets blown up. Turns out they were dropped into the territory that is ran by a guerrilla outfit, and this they make like heroin, this gang or whatever you want to call them. They're like in their range of operations. So these guys are totally clueless. These actors, they think that this is entirely set up and that the landmine was fake and Damien Cockburn isn't actually dead. So they just start wandering off while Nick Nolte, as that vet who wrote the book, and Danny McBride kind of track them and are trying to follow them. And more or less, like, they start walking and they get into a firefight with this guerrilla outfit. I think they're called, what are they? Do you remember their name?
No.
Okay.
But it can't possibly be important.
It's not very important. I was just trying to think of a way for brevity. They
get
into
brevity.
Yeah.
I want to jump in.
Yeah.
So, like, this is basically like the first act, right?
Yeah,
like,
we're like 30 minutes into the movie.
It sets up basically what the premise of the film is.
Yeah.
2020 actors in the shit in the jungle. They think it's a movie.
Yeah.
And every one of them is a special kind of stupid.
Yes.
Except for one, I would argue. But nobody, he might as well be a special kind of stupid because the rest of them are so stupid that it doesn't matter that he's smart. Right?
Yes, it's Jay Baruchel's character. He's the only one who actually went to boot camp, just like famously how the cast did for like Saving Private Ryan. He did that as well. So he knows how to read the maps. He knows this actual shit.
Yeah. So, the guy, so this is the movie immediately to me. I don't like cringe. So like the conversation when, like in the beginning, when like Robert Downey Jr. is crying over him,
right when they're filming
and
the
he's
opening
like, should
scene.
he be crying? And they blow the shot. I couldn't watch it. Like the second time, I was like, oh, geez, I just hate this scene.
Okay,
You know, like I don't like that kind of humor.
right.
And you and I have talked about this a lot, and this keeps coming back up in our conversations. I just don't like watching rich people act like assholes. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't derive enjoyment from it. So like the characters that I actually think are funny out of the characters so we like run through the actors, right? Ben Stiller, didn't think he was that funny. I didn't think Kirk Lazarus was that funny. I didn't think any of the actors were really funny. I think Jack Black is the weakest of the actors. I think you were right there.
Mm-hmm.
He is cast as Jack Black in the same way that Danny McBride is cast as Danny McBride. I really don't like Danny McBride. I don't think Danny McBride is funny at all. I'm sure there are good Danny McBride roles and good Jack Black films. I wouldn't know because I haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm.
But there are good parts in this movie, and there are good, I say parts, they're good, like, roles.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew McConaughey is funny
Mm-hmm.
in this movie. He's really funny. My client wants TiVo. We
Yeah, the
negotiated
ongoing
for the
TiVo bit.
Yeah, and TiVo, so dated.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I didn't think that bit would survive because of how dated it was, but it's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Did I mention to you how Matthew McConaughey actually wasn't originally cast for that role?
Really? No.
It was It was actually supposed to be Owen Wilson originally. But
that
I don't know
checks
if
out.
I don't know if you know this. Owen Wilson actually attempted suicide in like 2007.
Okay.
And
That's sad.
yes, and he was set to be that role, but after that, he and Ben Stiller was like, no, like, I'm gonna recast. I'm gonna give you your time to sort your stuff out, recover, work on yourself, and all that. So we almost did not have Matthew McConaughey in this role, and it was almost Owen Wilson. I do think he would have worked in the role as well, but that's a great role.
It would have worked in the role, but the fact that it's Matthew McConaughey pre-big break, because I feel like at this point Matthew McConaughey had only done like those boy toy rom-com roles.
Big rom-com guy until like True Detective, which was what, 2014 or
like
so.
Lincoln Lawyer was like 2010 or something, right?
Okay.
2012. Like he had started doing serious roles, but like he hadn't done Interstellar, he hadn't done True Detective, he hadn't done like other stuff. He was the eye candy guy, he was the rom-com guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or yes they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise, really fucking funny in this film.
Yeah. Great
And
Tom Cruise role.
My favorite Tom Cruise role, I think.
It's seriously up there. Like, it might be my favorite as well. I would have to like look through his list, but man, this is a great one. And
I
apparently,
didn't recognize him right away.
no. Apparently, most of this was his idea too. Like most of the prosthetics and whatnot, that was Tom Cruise's insistence.
Yeah, and it worked. He was great.
Yeah, definitely.
He like really great. And then the director Steve Coogan, he was pretty funny before he died.
I like Steve Coogan a lot. He's one of those dudes that I only know his name because we're talking about this like right now, and I was pulling stuff up. He is someone who I see him in stuff, and I'm just like, oh, this guy.
I think I said during the recording, I was like, oh, it's the guy from that thing.
Yeah. I know him. What's your Steve Coogan role you know him most for? Because for me, it's the other guys.
I think I said I knew him from Hot Fuzz.
Yes, you did mention Hot Fuzz. I remember that now.
I think there's a clip of him doing impressions of Michael Caine.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they're funny. He's funny. He's a funny guy. There are funny parts. There's funny roles in this movie, right? Like, there are funny moments in this movie, right? But, like, I felt like some of the jokes that they tried to make were just the easy laugh.
Okay.
And that's partially why I didn't appreciate them the second time.
Okay.
Like,
I definitely agree that there is a fair bit of humor like that. And
my other question for you, and this maybe is a little more critical than I think most of the time. When was the first time you saw this movie?
I saw this, I think, in theaters.
So you saw this when you were
12?
12 or 13. The same way that I saw Renaissance Man on VHS when I was like 8?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm drawing parallels. Please continue with your
Sorry, I'm just trying to collect my thoughts.
Danny McBride had just been captured.
Yeah, no. I excuse me, I did not get to that part yet.
They had not been captured yet.
No, I was just trying to think about if there was anything else I wanted to say before we jump back into this.
I'm not
regarding your point about like the easy joke, I definitely think that most falls on, or the person who that is the character most guilty of that, I think, is Jack Black. It's like fart jokes. Oh, he's going through withdrawal jokes. Oh, he just wants his drug jokes. Like, it's pretty unfunny.
Does he get down in his underwear at one point?
Probably.
Like, it is, they're hitting balls in the dirt, you know? Like, and he goes through withdrawal after being in the jungle for what, a day?
Mm-hmm.
And after already having a hit that day. Like, they weren't in the jungle for weeks. Hours? And he was like full-blown withdrawal.
Yeah, he was going off the deep end fast.
It was like,
where they had to like tie him up and shit. Anyway, we'll get to the withdrawals soon, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they get dropped off. They get into this gunfight with this. They're like something dragon. Oh fuck, what are they called? The Dragon Group is what we'll call them. The Dragon Group. They get into a gunfight with them. I think Jay Baruchel. No, I think Robert Downey Jr. is the only one who's like kind of like this might be real out of that group.
Yeah, he's the only one that thinks the guy's really dead.
Yeah. At this time, like Danny McBride, like they had planted explosives that he sets off because he thinks all the gunfight is them just like filming stuff. So that scares off the dragon guys. And honestly, more or less, they just like start
Flaming Dragon.
Flaming Dragon. There we go. The Flaming Dragons retreat. And then they start going through and like, you know, there's tension between Robert Downey Jr. and Ben Stiller. And, you know, they're just totally in two different camps. Like RDJ is, like I said, this is real. We need to take this seriously. But he's also pretentious. He's up his own ass. He is still in blackface this whole time. He's like, at like one point, he like tries playing the race card even. To which like Brandon T. Jackson's Al Pacino's like, hold the fucking phone, essentially, and calls him out. And honestly, like, I feel like there's not a whole lot to recap. It's a lot of them walking through the jungle and like, you know, Robert Downey Jr. trying to get Jay Baruchel to help with the map, but Ben Stiller goes over and like pretends, Robert Downey Jr. pretends to pee next to him and talks to him, and then Ben Stiller comes up and does the same exact thing. He's like, no, I don't have to pee, just could go. And he like punctures the beer can. I think it's around this time that Jack Black's drugs all get lost or something. And they keep going till they get to a river, at which point they realize, oh no, they're actually lost. And they shouldn't have been following Ben Stiller, who had been leading them. Ben Stiller is very arrogant. So they take the map from him. And they're like, all right, well, Jay Baruchel is going to lead us with the map. And Ben Stiller's like, well, I'm going my way because it's the right way. And they go their separate ways. Ben Stiller has this whole thing where like his character loves pandas and ends up because he did like a commercial or something with a panda. And then he ends up killing a baby panda, not realizing that it was a panda because it was dark and raining. And he makes like, I don't even know the term, like a hood, I guess, and like a entire outfit out of it. Danny McBride and Nick Nolte, they end up getting captured because like they're flying by through the area with their helicopter, and I don't recall if they get shot down or they land or what, but they get captured by the Flaming Dragons. Ben Stiller has a sat phone, so he's able to talk to Matthew McConaughey. And essentially, like, they're both going through separately. Ben Stiller ends up getting captured and brought to the camp. RDJ and co. They end up finding the Flaming Dragon camp, and it's at this time that Ben Stiller's like getting tortured, and he's beginning to realize, oh fuck, okay, maybe this is real. He also meets the leader of the Flaming Dragons, which is like a little kid, and they recognize him. Because he stutters at one point, they recognize him as the actor who plays Simple Jack, which is this Oscar bait role that he went for. That's like, you know, a satire of Tom Hanks and Sean Penn and all these actors who play people with like mental disabilities to bait for awards. And he did that, but like didn't get any success from it. But the Flaming Dragons love this movie, so they essentially have him just perform this play on loop while they negotiate ransom with Tom Cruise. But Tom Cruise doesn't even know who he's talking to and just cusses them out. And that kind of begins the rescue operation from the American side of things. Matthew McConaughey, Tom Cruise, and also Bill Hader is in this. They're all kind of working on their end to go and rescue them. RDJ and co., they come up with a plan to rescue Ben Stiller after seeing him perform Simple Jack like on stage for them. And there's a lot, like, this is when the movie I think really starts to drag, is once Ben Stiller's captured. Because then like we have like a lot of time of them at night just kind of chilling and talking and coming up with a plan. And Jack Black is tied up to a tree, and bunch of stuff, and they come up with this plan to go rescue Ben Stiller, where RDJ comes up and distracts them while the rest break into the camp and get guns. And more or less, they go through with that, and they go through with this plan. Jack Black ends up finding a bunch of heroin that he just fucking snorts and goes on this drug-fueled rampage. They all get guns. They're able to more or less like go through this like actual combat experience and succeed. There's some character growth moments. It's like during this time that Robert Downey Jr.'s character's whole deal is he immerses himself in these roles because he is not confident in his true self. He is not comfortable with his own identity. So he becomes these others people. So more or less he doesn't have to be himself because he doesn't love himself. So like he has a big moment where he like his arc is realized, and he like realizes like, oh no, he like rips off the makeup and whatnot, or rips off the wigs, and takes out the color contacts, which are then actual color contacts, since he doesn't have the blonde eye or the blue eyes in real life. Blonde eyes, could you imagine that? And essentially like they all team together and do this big combat sequence. Like Danny McBride, they rescue him, and Nick Nolte, they rig a bridge to explode, and they like all are about to escape. They're going to the chopper, and right before they get to the chopper, Ben Stiller's like, no, you know what? There's a life for me here. They love me as Simple Jack. I'm going to stay here. This is where I'm meant to be. I can make a difference. They're like, all right. So they hug and they go their separate ways. And then as they're about to take off, Ben Stiller just starts running back. He's like, I was wrong. Like this kid who he thought he was going to adopt is like on his back and stabbing him, and he hucks him off of him. Nick Nolte, who it turns out Nick Nolte, as this person who we thought was the vet who wrote the book that this is based on, turns out he is, and like we said, we don't want to be fraudsters. He is an actual fraudster. He never served. He wrote this like, the way he defends it is like in memoriam for those guys to tell their story. But he like, you know, he has a team player moment where he like jumps out of the chopper and blows up this thing to help save the day. They're about to go fly away, and while they're flying away, a rocket is shot at them. Matthew McConaughey comes running out of the jungle because I'm pretty sure the conclusion that he and Tom Cruise came to was that he was going to go and rescue them himself. And he comes running in and he chucks up the TiVo to Ben Stiller, and it blocks the missile. There's the TiVo coming full circle. And then they escape, and ultimately, we then like cut to the Oscars, where there's a bunch of like cameos, like Jason Bateman's there, Jon Voight's there, and essentially they ended up making this movie about the making of this movie that went horribly wrong, and Ben Stiller wins the Oscar for Best Actor, which is like, you know, completing his arc of like finally getting the recognition he wants, because he wants to be more than this action star. Les Grossman and Bill Hader are like, Tom Cruise and Bill Hader are like, we did it. And then the movie essentially ends with the credits of Tom Cruise dancing to, what is it, Low?
It was the Ludacris song, right?
Oh, yes. It is a Ludacris. Dancing to a Ludacris song. And that's pretty much the movie. That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Okay. Couple things.
Yeah.
This movie's jokes are reflective of how we talked in 2006. And, you know, like, this is just how we talk to each other.
Yeah.
We said things were retarded. Right?
Yes.
We were not as emotionally in tune with that kind of speech as we are now.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't like blackface then. It sounds stupid, but somehow I don't think you can make Tropic Thunder today. I guess you could. That doesn't mean that you should.
I will say, even at the time, it was controversial.
Yeah, even at the time it was controversial. Now there would be no Iron Man.
Right.
they would remove him from the film. Like post they'd cut him out of the movie. You know, like it's interesting. So yeah, it's like they make all these jokes about Simple Jack, and it's like, okay, are we laughing at this is really when I went back and watched it, I wanted to like, okay, are we laughing at Ben Stiller, or are we laughing at the idea that this character is somehow funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we laughing at Ben Stiller for thinking that playing a mentally handicapped person was going to win him an Oscar, or are we laughing at the character's portrayal?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think one, if it was we're laughing at Ben Stiller, I think that'd be funny.
Mm.
But I don't feel like we were. I feel like
Okay.
we were laughing at the character.
Okay.
For
me, for me, like it felt like about 2/3 of the jokes for me were like we're laughing at Ben Stiller, but then like about 1/3 of them were just like, you know, were jokes about like, oh, he's playing Simple Jack, haha, funny character and all that stuff.
Like his comeuppance is that he has to wear the teeth and the hair, right? But then when he's on stage and stuff, him going crazy didn't make any sense. He had a complete meltdown in like 12 hours.
Well, he was tortured.
No.
He wasn't tortured?
I don't know. I wasn't there. He was tortured in remembrance of the people that were tortured. I don't know, man. Like, I don't have anything to say other than I just feel like the spirit of this movie as I watch back is, if I had seen this movie at the time, I feel like I would look back at this with great reverence. There is a movie that I watched in theaters. I took a girl to see it. Did you ever see Meet the Spartans?
No, I'm familiar though.
That movie is dog water. That movie's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
It is like a farce of 300. But it's not. I mean, it's supposed to be absurd, right?
Yeah, it's like Scary Movie, but
like
for
Scary
the
Movie,
movies
but
of that time.
No, Mayo, this is bullshit, right? And it's kind of gross, and it's dumb, and it's bad. I don't think that movie's good now. I don't think that movie's funny now. But I thought that movie was really funny then. And I think if I saw this movie then, I would think this movie was really funny. If I saw this movie at the time. I just don't think I can. I don't know that the current version of myself sees the humor or sees the thing that is to be enjoyed. And I watched it twice. Like, I went back and did my due diligence and was like, maybe I'm just being like too hard on it. Maybe it was funny. And there were parts that made me laugh. Like, and Bill Hader is another character who I thought was really funny doing his Lorne Michaels.
Right.
Like, that's probably the thing that makes me more mad. Because there is really funny stuff in here that isn't, I'm a drug addict, I'm a closeted gay man, I'm gonna play a mentally handicapped person, and I'm a heroin addict. I'm in blackface. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like buried underneath the shit. So that's my overall feeling on it, and I kind of have highlighted the people that I've wanted to highlight. So I'm curious how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that some of it has not aged well. I do think that a lot of this movie has really aged well, though. And I think that a lot of that is thanks to the fact that it is a satire and it's not just a comedy trying to play this stuff for laughs. It's a comedy trying to point out how absurd these people are for doing this stuff, right? Like, rewatching it, like, going into this, I was not like, I was like ready for there to be stuff like, particularly with like the blackface, where I'm gonna be like, oh, I was like kind of gripping my chair, gritting my teeth, waiting for a moment where I'm just like, this is gonna have aged really poorly. But I'm speaking as a white man, so like I really do not know much about this stuff. But from my perception, I didn't find any of the blackface portrayal to be anything making light of blackface. It really felt like the blackface was pretty much always framed as Kirk Lazarus is out of his damn mind, and they should have just casted a black actor in his place. I think they even say that at one point. Like, yeah, well, why couldn't they have just casted a black guy instead? Like, they point that out. Yeah. And like, when Kirk Lazarus is like railing into Ben Stiller's character for playing Simple Jack, and the famous quote, I think the big quote from this movie at the time was "Never go full retard."
Yeah.
And like in that scene, like that ends up like coming back to and onto Kirk Lazarus getting called out for like his blackface and stuff like that. So like I felt like the blackface, to me it's really just like the
what do you mean, you people?
Yes,
what do you mean, you people? That was funny. Yeah.
Exactly. And I would say that's the other famous line from this movie, at least at the time. You know, I was pleasantly surprised with how it was handled, because I do feel like it was from a standpoint of no, blackface is wrong and we're calling that out. I do think that the stuff that aged most poorly was all, you know, the excessive use of the R slur, because like you said, that's just how people talked.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think like 2/3 of the humor in that like section of the film, that partition of it, was solid in where it was founded and coming from, and the other third was just like, this isn't good. So, you know, I definitely see where you're coming from. I understand what you're saying.
I guess I don't even think that like the blackface is like, I'm so offended I can't get past it. You know, it's like, yeah, I get the point that it's trying to make. You know, it's just like, I just think that that level of entertainment, or that form of, I'm using air quotes, entertainment, is not something we do anymore. It's just like, okay, yeah, it's like, I think you've got all that you're gonna get out of it. And if there was any gas left in that can, Robert Downey Jr. got all the gas out of the can. Because nobody's ever gonna do a blackface again without like getting fucking canceled in the next millennia, and rightfully so, right? Because it's not chill. And I will say this too. I get why people like it. I'm not saying I don't understand why people like it, right?
Mm.
I understand why you liked it. I understand why most people who watch this will watch this and think it's funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's something about this that's like being beat down by like getting assaulted by like a pitching machine of jokes. I don't know. Or like getting mugged by a clown. It's not, I don't know. It is what I expect most of these people to do. Like, Robert Downey Jr. is the outlier here. But like Jack Black and Danny McBride and Ben Stiller, especially at these points in their careers, this is what they did. These are the films they made. The film before this was Ben Stiller's film before this Zoolander?
No, Zoolander was a bit before that. Zoolander was like early 2000s. This was later 2000s.
Okay. Was there another comedy that he did before this?
I mean, the Meet the Parents films.
Yeah.
Let me pull up his filmography real quick. I've got it right here. So Tropic Thunder was 2008. Before this, he was in Blades of Glory the year before. Night at the Museum. He was in Tenacious D. He was in Madagascar, Meet the Fockers, Anchorman, Dodgeball, Starsky and Hutch.
It's starred in, I guess.
Starred in Night at the Museum.
Yeah, that's a kid's movie.
Madagascar, a kid's movie again. Dodgeball. Yeah. I would say he stars in Dodgeball.
Yeah.
He's the main antagonist. Along Came Polly.
Yeah.
So, it's a solid 7 years. I'd say he has a handful of roles between Zoolander and this. This is the movie. Zoolander is the movie he directed prior to this one, though. He didn't direct anything for about 7 years between them.
And we like Ben Stiller directing. I mean, he's doing
of course.
Great
we
work
love Ben Stiller as a director.
He's doing great work on Severance.
In fantastic work.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just my satisfaction is less than full.
Okay.
So I don't want to walk back any of the things that I said. I just want to be clear that it's I don't know. I understand why people like it. Nothing really. And then at the end, I was just just get on with it. We know how it ends. There's no more surprise. We spent 40 minutes up on the ridge talking. Yeah. Just get over with it.
Yeah, that's when it really drags to a halt.
Yeah, so bad, some pacing issues, but honestly, a comedy you should only judge on the merit of its plot and its jokes. I feel if there's more to judge, there's more to judge. I don't think we need to talk about the camera work, but I don't know. Maybe I'm applying a bad standard to films.
Maybe.
Yeah. Right.
Now, the only standard I care about, though, is the Rotten Tomatoes score, and we're going to look Tropic Thunder, Certified Fresh, Renaissance Man, rotten.
Wow. There you go. You heard it here first.
No, I mean, overall, I feel like there's not too much extra discussion to be had, but I do want to ask a couple questions. First is, give me a moment or give me something that you're I think that's my favorite part of this movie. What's something you did particularly enjoy?
The Tom Cruise parts are my favorite.
Okay.
The Tom Cruise and the Matthew McConaughey parts are my favorite. Him throwing the T-bow to block the missile, I audibly groaned. So I'm not.
You groaned?
I was not happy.
Oh, that's one of the best parts.
No.
It's so funny. It's so absurd.
We talked about how ubiquitous TiVo was, and now it's completely irrelevant.
Yeah, it's crazy. We were talking about it during how it's man, remember when TiVo was a verb and then it just turned into DVR and record? Talk about fumbling the bag.
Yeah. What else you got for me?
I guess one important question is, CJ, could you have done a Tropic Thunder?
Who am I?
You're the main cast. You're dropped into a jungle in
the main
Vietnam.
Cast, which one?
You are the crew dropped into the jungle in Vietnam. Then
you're not telling me which person.
You are the main characters dropped into the jungle in Vietnam. What do you mean? They all go through the same plight.
No, they don't. Ben Stiller gets captured and tortured.
Well, yeah, but again, that's something that you might be able to circumvent. You're dropped into the jungle in Vietnam with only blanks, and you are in a heroin production zone.
Nah.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one to do.
Honestly, I don't like the hot.
Yeah, this is a sweaty ass movie, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean mosquitoes would be really biting at you. Oh
yeah,
there's some animals in that jungle too.
Oh yeah, I mean the panda, which are not native to Vietnam at all.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was that water buffalo or wildebeest, whatever it was.
I don't think it was a wildebeest. I think it was a water buffalo.
Okay, what's the difference between a wildebeest and a?
Well, that's a good question. What does Wikipedia say?
I don't know. I'm looking. Wildebeests definitely look okay. Wildebeests native to eastern and southern Africa. Water buffalo originating in the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. So definitely water buffalo. Well, I guess we just have one question left. CJ, is the film okie dokie?
I'm going to go ahead and give this one a thumbs down, not okie dokie.
All right.
But I do so with the asterisk of that I think that if you've not seen it, that it's not worth your time to see.
Your mileage will definitely vary.
Your mileage will vary is a great disclaimer for this. Definitely don't watch it twice.
Oh no, I think watch it 4 times.
No. What about you? Is the film okie dokie?
Yeah, I would say it's okie dokie. I'm not gonna sit here and be like pounding my fist on the table. This film is okie dokie, but I'd say it's okie dokie.
All right.
I don't think it's the mostest okest dokest movie we've ever watched. In fact, I'd say it's probably on the lower end of okest dokest, but it's definitely okie dokie.
Okay.
Well, CJ, before we find out what we're watching next time on The Film is Okie Dokie, what have you got in terms of recommendations?
Oh, we're in the rec room now.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, watch your step. I've been putting in a new basement floor. That's a real thing. I've had people jackhammering and everything.
So hold on, you're recommending to watch your step?
No.
What?
I'm saying watch your step in my rec room.
Oh, wait, the rec room is in your basement?
No, we always talk about the rec room. Yeah.
So wait,
Shh, it's okay.
what are you recommending?
You're so pretty. I haven't gotten there yet.
Why not? I've asked.
I'm going. Oh my god. All right. First, we're gonna recommend Severance. Again,
Oh,
season 2.
nice.
Watch it. It's good. I think that if you go into it understanding that it's a season 2 and that it's building towards a larger narrative, you will have appropriate expectations. All the episodes are out now. It's on Apple TV and Apple TV Plus, and you should watch that and enjoy it. Get it while the getting is good.
I'm going to say the getting will always be good for Severance.
My mom told me to recommend this one. She told me to recommend A Man Called Otto.
Oh.
She actually demanded that you and I watch it. I told her that I'm not getting to pick for a few weeks. So I thought I'd throw her a bone and recommend it. It is
nice.
a Tom Hanks film. She watched it recently and really, really enjoyed it. And so there you go. Mama CJ says, you should watch A Man Named Otto. Or A Man Called Otto.
Yes, called. We want to respect what he's
Put some respect on his name.
Exactly. I think A Man Called Otto, quintessential mom film.
It feels like a quintessential mom film.
Yeah. I think that's actually, it's funny you bring that up because Jade and I just watched the movie The Terminal this past weekend.
Oh, that's another one.
Big, yes. And we watched it because Jade's mom was like, really like, you guys got to watch that when you guys watch movies. Because that used to be her favorite Tom Hanks movie until she watched A Man Called Otto. Yeah. Which Jade and I watched around this time last year.
Me and Madre followed a similar pipeline. So
it's man, the alt-right pipeline is super documented, but the Man Called Otto pipeline, it needs to be studied.
It needs to be studied. She also really likes Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, that's a good one. I love Catch Me If You Can.
No love for That Thing You Do. And my last recommendation is going to be for a book.
Oh.
And that book is going to be for Paper Doll, which is by Dylan Mulvaney. And her book recently came out, and it is about her story and her series on TikTok, Blank Days as a Girl, and her journey through transition and womanhood, and navigating that in a very public space, and navigating that in a very online space, and all the benefits and trappings that come with that, and also following into the Bud Light Beer Gate, I think is what she calls it.
Is that I was gonna say that's what it's being called now? Like that's the title dubbed upon it.
The stupid can thing that happened.
Yeah.
And how that, incident is seemingly had a very large repercussion on the beer market. and how it's really just like it was one can for one person. And it is Paper Doll Memoirs from a Late Bloomer. So give that a read if you're interested. Try to support people when they make content, So we want more stories.
Yes.
Read books.
Read books.
All right, your turn.
Well, speaking of books, I got a little book to recommend myself called Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is a book that CJ got me for Christmas, not knowing that I wanted to get it and read it. This is one of my...
known.
Oh, you did know?
I didn't know.
Okay.
But I might have known.
Well, when I opened it and I was like, oh, I've been meaning to get this and read it. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. What a coincidence.
Yeah, what a coincidence.
So this is a book that is actually being adapted into a movie right now. It's already been filmed. It is a science fiction book. Andy Weir wrote The Martian, so this is kind of the same camp. It's like, a bit it's a pretty funny book. It's a bit goofy, very science-based, and ultimately it is about, to put it succinctly, the sun begins to die, and a team of people are sent to another solar system to try and find a cure for our sun. That is the initial setup. There is so much more to it and far from the actual premise, but I don't want to spoil the actual premise.
Yeah.
But really great. I really loved reading this book. First, I want to say thank you, CJ, for getting it for me. I've already recommended it to a friend of mine who I think would like it. And it's fun. It's emotional. It's hilarious. It, like, at one point, like, I literally gasped and had my hand over my mouth. Like, really great book that just really lands, and it's pretty fast paced despite being 400 something pages. Looks thick, reads quick. What my librarian in high school used to always say.
Ooh,
so wanted to recommend Project Hail Mary. Yeah, it's a good little jingle, ain't it?
There is a character in that book that I'm very curious how they will translate to the screen.
Have you read it?
I have read, I think, part.
Okay. I'm guessing I know who you're talking about.
You should.
How do I say this without spoiling? I know. Okay, I'm just going to edit this part out. So the second thing I wanted to recommend is a little movie called Conclave, which was just up for Best Picture. Jade and I watched this, I think, the night before the Oscars, and we were both really surprised with how much we liked it. If you're unfamiliar, it is a movie about picking the next pope. And you don't got to be religious to enjoy it. I am not a religious person, and I really loved it. And it's really just the drama of these votes unfolding, and it's one of those movies where it's like, all right, we're holding the votes. We're holding a vote. Here's our tally, and then like, oh, we're at a stalemate. Okay, and then like shit unfolds over the course of the day, and so we're all right. Here's our next vote. Here's the tally, and you see how stuff has like shifted, and the different people are more popular now. It's just really fun. Engaging watch. Highly recommend. Definitely one of my favorites from 2024. The last thing I wanted to recommend is a movie that just came out called Black Bag, which is the newest Steven Soderbergh movie. This is a spy thriller, I would say, starring Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender. Other people in it are Naomi Harris, Regé-Jean Page, Marissa Abela, and Pierce Brosnan. Essentially, this is a movie about two spies who are married, Michael Fassbender, Cate Blanchett. And this does not spoil. You learn all of this in like the first 90 seconds. Cate Blanchett is suspected of stealing intel or a MacGuffin and selling it. And Michael Fassbender is in charge of figuring out if it's her or one of the other four suspects. There are 5 suspects. in this, and he invites them all over for dinner, and he hosts a dinner party, like with the goals to figure out who it is. And that's just the initial setup. Really fun spy thriller. It's not like the greatest thing I've ever watched, but really great, really fun, engaging. And the best thing about it, it's 90 minutes long and it flies by.
Ooh.
So really enjoyed that. Definitely think that's worth checking out. By the time it's out, it'll be on streaming, so give that a watch. But yeah, I think that's all for my recs.
Cool.
CJ, how about we find out what's next on The Film is Okie Dokie?
I would love that. And
Yes.
don't we actually have a guest?
Yes. We have our second guest ever joining us next episode on The Film is Okie Dokie. And just like Jade, recorded a little bumper for us to play here, introducing themselves, who they are, and what we're watching next time on.
Really
So,
quick, I
yeah.
have a prediction on what the movie is.
You do. I
Yes.
do not. I have zero clue. Do you want to say your prediction now?
Yes. I don't know why. Soul Read.
Soul Read, okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Okay.
I feel like the pick is going to be Wally. I have no information,
Okay.
no knowledge.
Okay.
I just feel like it's going to be Wally.
Can I say I don't think it's going to be Wally?
Yeah,
Because I have seen Wally.
I have also seen Wally.
Okay.
Was that one of the things that we have not seen it?
Apparently it is a movie neither of us have seen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, okay, then I retract.
So,
it.
all right. Why
Never
don't
mind.
I play
All right,
that
play it.
bumper for us right now?
All right.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Film is Okie Dokie. My name is Gaffy Taffy. I am CJ's muse and Tommy's moral compass. I am so stoked to be joining those two and all of you on the next episode, where we'll be following Tropic Thunder's theme of a case of mistaken identity and the existential crisis that follows. That's right. Get your bowling gloves ready, since the three of us are visiting the dude and watching The Big Lebowski.
Ooh.
Wow. All right.
All right.
All right. I've seen the first like half hour and fell asleep, so I have not watched this.
Okay. Can I tell you?
Yeah.
I did the same fucking thing. I did the
Awesome.
same thing 15 years ago.
Oh, same. Mine was like 15 years ago too. Oh, this
my
is going to
God.
be great. All right. Well, you heard it here first. Next time on The Film is Okie Dokie, Gaffy Taffy, my little critter, as we like to call him, Critter will be joining us to watch The Big Lebowski. CJ, you got anything else to add?
No, I'm really hyped for that movie.
Me too. I'm super pumped. Well,
Super pumped.
thank you all for listening. As always, join our Discord server, stop by, say what's up, hello. We just, by this point, way in the past, but we just wrapped up our Oscar pool earlier this month, which was super fun community thing. Would love to do more community challenges, games like that. You know, CJ talked about earlier this episode, the Okie Dokie-a-thon. So yeah, come join us, chill, chat. CJ, what have you got to add?
Goodbye.
Wow, no 5-star, rate us, review us, otherwise
right,
hater
right,
Bomani
right.
Jones. I feel like half the time I'm reminding you about this.
Thank you everybody for listening. Like us, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. If you only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Shout out to Bomani Jones at Wave Originals, presented by Perplexity.
Who?
Originally from ESPN for the Quip.
Mm.
There you go.
One last thing as well, recommend us to your friends, your family. Grab your friend's phone, pull up their podcast catcher of choice, subscribe to the Film is Okie Dokie without telling them. Just
Join
let them
the
get a random
Discord, we're
episode.
fun.
And of course, join the Discord. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you next time on The Film is Okie Dokie.
Goodbye.